Ethan Ford chuckled softly. Officer Holt, you're too kind. What objections could I possibly have? Holt leaned in closer, lowering his voice. Some people are still trying to fish Nolan Wallace out. They've even reached out to me. Ethan laughed, a sharp edge to it. Is that so? But there's the law, isn't there? If Nolan Wallace committed a crime, he should receive the punishment he deserves, right? Holt paused, thought for a moment, and understood Ethan's implication. He smiled. Mr. Ford makes a good point. All right, Mr. Ford, I need to go process this batch of punks. I'll take my leave. Ethan waved his hand. Thank you, Officer Holt. Hard work. After Holt left, the crowd dispersed, but many cast curious glances at Ethan. Paul King ran up to Ethan, grabbing his arm. Cousin-in-law, are you? Are you really the owner of West Ford Group? Why? Do I not look like it? Ethan spread his hands and laughed. Honestly, no. Ethan, damn it. I'm the real deal, okay? Paul laughed dryly. Don't get mad, Ethan. I just think you're too easygoing. You don't have that domineering vibe like other bosses. Hey, don't go. Come over to my place for a drink tonight, or we could go to a bar. He wanted to ride this coattail immediately, but Ethan was already walking away with Grace Miller. Sarah Young pinched the soft flesh at Paul's waist and glared at him. What are you yelling for? Help me up. Paul chuckled awkwardly and quickly supported Sarah. Sarah, are you okay? I twisted my ankle. Does it look like I'm okay? You were so useless just now. Sarah scolded, frustrated by his lack of backbone. However, she knew in her heart that while Paul loved to brag, he might not be able to solve real problems. He didn't hold a high position in the comptroller's office. He was just a low-level clerk. Sarah shook off his hand and walked away in a huff. Hey, Sarah, don't be mad. Wait for me. Paul hurriedly followed to comfort her. Since Sarah had twisted her ankle, the shopping trip was cut short. Grace bought 2 sets of clothes for Ethan, and they returned to the Miller home. Back in the room, Grace was helping Ethan try on the new clothes. You'll definitely look handsome in this, you jerk, Grace said expectantly, holding a blue dress shirt. I feel like the style is pretty much the same as what I have at home, Ethan teased. Grace rolled her eyes at him. How is it the same? Look, the waistline is different here. It's more tapered. Come on, put it on and try it. Ethan asked in surprise. Try it on now? Of course. What's the big deal? Hurry up and take off your clothes. It's not like I haven't seen you before, Grace said matter-of-factly. Ethan's mouth twitched. Grace was getting bolder and bolder. All right, I'll try it. Ethan took off his jacket and then unbuttoned his shirt, staring at her as he did so. Grace blushed under his gaze and spat. Ethan, why are you looking at me? What do you want to do? Ethan pondered for a moment and said seriously, What? Grace was confused. What riddles was he speaking now? A moment later, Ethan took off his shirt, revealing lean, defined muscles. His abs were faintly visible. Grace's eyes widened, and a metaphorical drool trail formed at the corner of her mouth. Oh my God, Ethan, have you been working out? Grace swallowed, asking in astonishment. These muscles didn't look like something Ethan would have. With his usual strength, how could he have muscles? Ethan smiled proudly. Of course. The company has a gym. Whenever I go to the office, I work out. We even have professional trainers. My goodness, that's a big change. Grace gave a thumbs up in praise. Looking at him now, he felt much more masculine, though once he put clothes on, he still looked a bit scholarly and refined. Naturally, I'm a lot stronger now. Look, one of my arms is worth 2 of yours. Ethan flexed his bicep, showing off to Grace. Grace scoffed, dismissive. Stop bragging. Want to test it? Arm wrestle. Grace Miller. You think I'm afraid of you? Ethan struck a classic Bruce Lee pose, ready for the challenge. Whoever loses has to be the horse. I want a piggyback ride. Hee. Grace laughed arrogantly. No problem. Come on. Ethan opened his hand. They went to the desk, locked fingers, and prepared to arm wrestle. Ethan laughed inwardly. Little girl, would I, a grown man, lose to you? Before, I'll let you bully me because I didn't use my full strength. Now, I'll show you what a real man is. Let you see true power. I'll count to 3 and we start. Ethan said seriously, beginning to exert force secretly. 1, 2, 3. Go down. Ethan exerted force suddenly, intending to win in a second. But the next moment, he felt a massive force surge from her palm. Terrifying power. Bam! Ethan's hand was slammed onto the table surface. Ethan was bewildered. Holy crap, what kind of monster strength does Grace have? Grace stood up, clapped her hands, and said proudly, Ethan, I won. Ethan also stood up, quickly checking Grace all over, pinching her arms, then her face. Grace, Omega. She slapped Ethan's wandering hand away. What are you doing? Ethan said solemnly. I want to see if you're a robot from the future, or an alien. Grace twitched her lips, glared at him, and said, You're the robot. Is a robot as good-looking as this princess? Since we were kids, you've never been as strong as me. What's so strange about it? Ethan. Grace kicked off her shoes, jumped onto the bed, and waved to him with a smile. All right, you lost. Pay up. Be the horse. Ethan smiled wryly. Okay. He took off his shoes and climbed onto the bed, lying face down. Just as Grace was about to climb on, Ethan gave a wicked grin, suddenly flipped over, and pinned her beneath him. Gracie, how about you let me ride first? Ethan teased. Grace looked at his bare chest, her cheeks instantly turning as red as an apple, her heart racing. W, what are you doing? You clearly lost. You're cheating. Ethan chuckled. Then let me be a cheat. Saying that, he prepared to transform into the big bad wolf and pounce on the super-strength little white rabbit. Suddenly, the bedroom door clicked open. Lily Miller, carrying a plate of fruit, was about to walk in. But as soon as she opened the door, she saw Ethan, shirtless, pressing down on Grace. She was instantly dumbfounded. Grace was also dumbfounded. Ethan's body froze completely. As the three looked at each other, the air filled with awkwardness. Grace curled her toes, so embarrassed she could have dug a hole right through the mattress. You two continue. I didn't see anything. Lily chuckled softly and immediately closed the door. Grace's face was beet red. She glared at Ethan, ashamed and annoyed. Ethan, it's all your fault. Thud. Ouch. Outside, Frank Ford checked the time and set down his teacup. Hey, George, I think it's about time. We should head back. Going back so soon? Why not stay for dinner? We can have a few more drinks. George Miller had drunk quite a bit and stood up to urge them to stay. Frank laughed. Hey, there's plenty of time in the future. When we get back to Chicago, there'll be plenty of opportunities. All right, we really should go. Has Ethan not come out yet? Lily came out carrying the fruit, looking a little excited. Hey, Frank, don't rush. Wait a bit for Ethan. He might not be done yet, Frank and Mary Ford looked at each other in confusion. Frank scratched his head and asked, Not done? How long does he need? Lily rubbed her chin, thought seriously, and said uncertainly, Maybe. Half an hour? Or an hour? Frank Ford was stunned. Is that so? Well, all right, we'll wait a bit longer. That brat. What is he doing in the room with Grace? In the bedroom, Ethan rubbed his chest and grinned. Grace Miller, are you trying to murder your husband? Grace stifled a laugh, pretending to be angry. Who told you to cheat first? Consider this your punishment. Ethan turned around, ran to lock the door, and laughed mischievously. Hey, don't worry. I've locked the door now. Let's go again. After saying that, Ethan jumped back onto the bed, hugging Grace and rolling around with her. Ethan? Okay, keep your hands still. You're annoying. Grace dodged his tickling hands, letting out crisp laughter. The two played on the bed for a while until they were both tired. Finally, it turned into Grace lying on his chest, playing with his nose. They quietly enjoyed the time alone. After a while, Grace chuckled softly. Ethan, why do I love you so much? Did you use magic on me? Confess. Ethan pinched her small nose and laughed. You want to talk? You definitely put a spell on me. Grace, I love you too. Grace gave a sweet smile, resting her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. She wanted to lay like this forever. In this moment, it felt real. With her whole heart and soul, she felt Ethan right there beside her. It's so peaceful. You'll always be by my side, right? She asked softly. Ethan stroked her head and promised, I will. We will never be apart. I will always be by your side. Grace's eyes grew a little moist. She looked up at him. The next moment, she kissed him. Time seemed to stop in an instant. After an unknown amount of time, Grace finally let him go and whispered, All right, Uncle and Annie must have been waiting outside for a long time. You should go back. From now on, I hope you work a little less, rest more, and smoke less. She actually missed Ethan a lot on normal days, but she understood he had work. Sometimes he was busy until late, sometimes he needed to discuss business and couldn't be with her. She would wait silently at home, or bring him a late-night snack, never interfering with his work. She wanted to support him silently from behind. When he was tired, she would be his warm harbor. Ethan looked at her sensible appearance, feeling a heartache for how understanding she was. He smiled. Okay, I'll listen to the boss. Ethan got up from the bed, put his clothes back on, opened the door, and then turned back to wave at her. Grace, I'll pick you up in a few days to go back to Chicago. Grace covered her mouth and laughed. Okay, I know. Go on back. Ethan walked out of the room into the living room and saw Frank already putting on his shoes, holding some return gift bags, looking ready to leave. Dad, you're leaving? Seeing Ethan come out of the room, Frank asked in surprise, "Hey, didn't you need half an hour or an hour? Why are you out in 10 minutes?" Hearing the voice, Lily walked out of the kitchen, wiping her hands, and asked in astonishment, "Ethan, why you're going back already? Hmm? That fast? Oh my. Looks like he needs some supplements." Ethan scratched his head and laughed dryly. "Yes, Auntie, it's getting late." Lily kept a straight face and said seriously, "Wait a moment. I'll get you something." Saying that, Lily went back into the kitchen and brought out a large bag of stuff from the cabinet. She stuffed the items into Ethan's hands and said solemnly, "Ethan, take this back and brew it in water to drink. Drink it every day. It'll help regulate your system." Ethan opened the black bag, looked down, and was instantly dumbfounded. It was a huge bag of ginseng slices and herbal supplements. "I picked these out specifically. I was saving them for your Uncle George, but you take them first. Remember to drink the brew," Lily instructed repeatedly. "Ethan, did Annie misunderstand something? Do I need supplements?" But he couldn't refuse an elder's kindness. "Cough, cough, okay, Annie. I got it." Ethan nodded repeatedly and tied up the bag. Leaving the Miller house, the Ford family returned directly to their home. For the rest of the holiday, if Ethan wasn't on the road visiting relatives, the whole family was at home waiting for relatives to visit. In the blink of an eye, it was January 7th. Early in the morning, Ethan washed up and tidied up the house. "Dad, are any more relatives coming today?" Ethan put down the tablecloth and looked up to ask. Frank shook his head. "Didn't receive any calls. Probably not. Once we clean up, we'll pack. We have to go back to Chicago tomorrow." Ethan smiled. "That's good. Running around for days has been tiring. I feel freer back in Chicago." As the father and son were chatting, a knock suddenly came from the courtyard gate. "Who is it?" Frank asked suspiciously. "Frank, it's me, Thomas." Thomas Tate's voice rang out. "Thomas?" Frank didn't recall which Thomas it was for a moment. A former co-worker? He quickly ran to open the door and was instantly stunned. "Ah, Mayor Tate. Why you? How did you come here? Please come in." Frank looked shocked, feeling overwhelmed by the favor, and quickly invited the person into the courtyard. "Ah, Frank, how could you forget me? It's the holidays. Just came to wish you a happy new year. Haven't seen you in years. By the way, is Ethan home?" Thomas said politely. Frank was bewildered. "What's the situation? Am I that close with Mayor Tate? Why did he come personally to wish me a happy new year? Seems like he's here for my son." But a guest was a guest, especially such a distinguished one. He quickly said, "Hey, Mayor Tate, he's home. Please, please. You're such a distinguished guest. It's a surprise. Come, sit in the living room. Uncle Frank, happy new year. Wishing you good health and all the best." Tyler Tate, carrying bags big and small, greeted politely. "This is my son, Tyler. When they were kids, he used to follow Ethan around to catch frogs. Don't you remember?" Thomas introduced with a smile. When he said that, Frank recalled some memories and remembered Tyler. "The kid is so big now, I almost didn't recognize him. Come in and sit." Frank greeted warmly. The Tate father and son followed Frank into the living room. As soon as Thomas saw Ethan, he walked up warmly and shook Ethan's hand. "Ethan, Happy New Year." "Ethan, Happy New Year. Wishing you great prosperity." Tyler Tate beamed, greeting happily. Frank, standing to the side, was dumbfounded seeing the Tate father and son so warm toward Ethan. "What is going on? Why does it feel like they came specifically to visit my son?" Ethan was also a bit surprised to see the Tate family come for a holiday visit. People generally don't show up for no reason. "Have a seat. I'll pour you some tea," Ethan greeted with a smile. Guests were guests and had to be treated well. Hey, Ethan, no need for the trouble," Thomas urged repeatedly. Frank laughed. "Hey, Mayor Tate, it's the holidays. How can you come to our home and not have tea? You sit first. I'll go prepare some food." Thomas stopped declining and said politely, "Oh, sorry to trouble you." Ethan had heard enough of these polite remarks over the past 2 days. Whether going to a relative's house or having relatives come over, it was basically the same script, a polite push and pull. Maybe this was just the tradition. Ethan poured 2 cups of tea, handed them to the Tate father and son, and then sat down. "Uncle Thomas, I was thinking of visiting you today to wish you a happy new year. I didn't expect you to beat me to it. I'm really flattered." Thomas Tate had a kind smile on his face. "Ethan, knowing you have that intention makes me happy. It doesn't matter who visits whom. I figured you might be heading to Chicago in a couple of days, and since I happen to be free today, I came over to see you." Ethan picked up a tangerine and peeled it, but his mind was pondering their intentions. They certainly didn't come just to sit. Thomas was an old fox. Naturally, he wouldn't state his purpose right away. "Yes, Uncle Thomas. We plan to go to Chicago tomorrow. You know, school starts soon. Ethan said with a light smile. Thomas was surprised. So soon? You could stay a few more days in your hometown. No, I have business to handle in Chicago. I can't sit still here. Ethan shrugged. I see. Understandable, understandable, Thomas smiled. Then he looked around the room and said, Ethan, this house has been around for some years, right? Why not renovate it? If you want to renovate or rebuild, I'll arrange someone to follow up for you. The approval procedures will be done in half a day. In rural towns, renovating or rebuilding houses required approval before construction could start. Usually, these approvals wouldn't come down for months. Thomas wanted to use this to show goodwill to Ethan. Ethan naturally heard it and smiled. This is the old ancestral home. My dad can't bear to tear it down. We plan to see if we can buy a plot of land nearby and build a new house, so it's more comfortable when we return. Tyler Tate immediately said, there is land, right at the entrance of the alley, that large vacant lot across the way. That's residential land that can be traded. I heard it belongs to the Langston family and has been sitting idle. He was quite familiar with the town situation. Hearing Ethan wanted to buy land, he felt it was a chance to get closer. Is that so? No wonder it's been empty. Are they willing to sell? I'm willing to pay for it, Ethan asked with interest. Tyler rolled his eyes and said seriously, there aren't many Langstons left. I heard Old Man Langston intends to sell, but no one has been willing to take it over. It's 2 acres. Actually, he didn't know the specific details, but if Ethan wanted it, he would find a way to help secure the land. Thomas waved his hand and smiled. Ethan, don't worry about this. If you really want to buy it, I'll go talk to the Langstons later. The land is idle anyway. If they don't sell, it'll just become a wasteland. Tyler chimed in, yeah, it's 2 acres. If it sits idle, it might be reclaimed and turned back into farmland. Ethan understood their meaning. They were eager to help. Indeed, building a house in his hometown would be much easier with the Tate family's help. He would definitely owe this favor. In that case, Tyler, if you have time, ask for me. Price isn't a problem, as long as it's reasonable. 2 acres, I'll buy it. Ethan smiled. A look of joy appeared on Tyler's face. He responded, haha, no problem. You can leave this to me with peace of mind. I'll go talk to the Langstons when I get back. We should be able to settle it very quickly. Then, thank you very much. Ethan smiled and handed him a tangerine. Tyler happily accepted the tangerine and said, Ethan, now that Big Rock doesn't have the Wallace family, there shouldn't be anything we can't handle. Rest assured. Mentioning the Wallace family, Ethan looked at Thomas and asked, Uncle Thomas, how many people behind the Wallaces were swept up? Thomas held up 3 fingers and said seriously, 35. Anyone with ties or dealings with the Wallace family has been taken away for investigation. It involved core positions in the town units, as well as various bureaus. For some people, you could say the wind is whistling in the trees, panic everywhere. Now, everyone is avoiding the Wallaces, trying their best to clear their relationship with them. Hearing this, Ethan laughed involuntarily. When a wall falls, everyone pushes. It's normal. Thomas sat a little closer to Ethan, leaned in, and whispered the Wallace family's assets were confiscated, but his industries are still there. Regarding the investigation of the Wallace family's industries, I've told them to hold off a bit. Among them is a vanadium mine. The reserves haven't been proven yet, but the town had already processed various approvals for the Wallaces beforehand. The mining licenses were all done, but Nolan Wallace didn't have the capability to develop it, so the mine has been sitting idle. Hearing about a vanadium mine, a glint flashed in Ethan's eyes. Starting in 2001, as manufacturing investment increased, the demand for upstream minerals grew. Ethan remembered that in 2003, major newspapers reported a shortage of mines and raw materials. Huge demand sent or prices skyrocketing like a rocket. Currently, vanadium ore was around $2,000 per ton, but in 2 years, just 2 years, it soared to a high of $40,000 per ton. As state-owned assets invested heavily in developing mines and supply increased, the price of vanadium ore quickly fell back, eventually stabilizing around $12,000 to $18,000 per ton. The profit margin was simply staggering. Ethan was intrigued. He pondered for a moment and asked, since the Wallaces went in, his mine should be confiscated, right? Seeing Ethan was interested, Thomas smiled. Of course, it will be forfeited assets. However, I think these assets still need to be liquidated into fines. According to my discussion with Mayor Gene Gardner, this mine has to be listed for auction, which includes the mine's exploration rights and mining rights. Hearing this, Ethan immediately picked up a pack of Parliament cigarettes from the table, took out 2, handed them to Thomas and Tyler, and then lit one for himself. Haha, Uncle Thomas, I'm a bit interested in this mine, Ethan said bluntly, not hiding it at all. Thomas took a drag of his cigarette and laughed. Ha, I knew it. Ethan, you'd definitely be interested. The Wallace family has fallen. In the entire Big Rock, I think the only person with the capability and strength to develop the mind is you. Keep the goodies within the family, right? You're from Big Rock. It's more appropriate for one of our own to handle this. Ethan calculated rapidly in his mind. Investing a mine was business worth over $100 million. If handled well, it could earn him some serious money. This was truly a big gift. Thomas Tate bringing out such a big gift. What did he want in exchange? There was no such thing as a free lunch in this world. If there was, it was surely poisoned. Then thank you very much for looking out for me. Uncle Thomas, Ethan said politely, cupping his hands. Thomas waved his hands repeatedly, looking serious. Hey, no need to be so polite. We're all family. Tyler and you grew up together. For this kind of favor, of course I'd help. With that, he framed both sides as family. Yes, although Tyler is a few years older than me, we get along very well. Ironclad buddies. Ethan nodded in agreement. A glint flashed in Thomas's eyes. Feeling the time was right, he pretended to be distressed. Sigh, Tyler is a few years older than you, but he hasn't achieved much these years. I arranged for him to work in the comptroller's office, but you can see the end of that road at a glance. Unlike you, Ethan, doing big business, knowing the mayor of Fulton, and being so close to him, you have much more of a future. Ethan heard the implication in his words and smiled. Hey, it's all luck. Tyler should be doing well in the comptroller's office. The chances of promotion later are quite high. Thomas shook his head and smiled bitterly. That's what people say, but this kid's heart isn't in it. Ethan turned to Tyler curiously. Tyler, what's wrong? You don't like working at the comptroller's office? Tyler smoked a cigarette, shook his head, and said seriously, to be honest, I didn't feel it much before, but after doing this job for a long time, it feels more and more tasteless. Just like my dad said, this life is visible to the end at a glance. I don't really like a job where I can see the end. I want to go out and venture. Tyler paused, looked up at Ethan, and said sincerely, Ethan, I want to go out and work with you. Ethan was stunned. He didn't expect Tyler to be willing to give up the job for life, and a golden one at that, to work with him. Looking at Tyler's face, he didn't seem to be joking. Tyler, why do you suddenly want to work with me? Ethan asked in surprise. Tyler gave a bitter smile. It's not sudden. I've thought about it for a long time. I've thought it through clearly. I haven't been able to sleep for nights thinking about this, and I've made up my mind. I'm still young. There's a vast world outside Big Rock. I want to see it, experience it, venture out, and make a name for myself. Thomas put down his cigarette, took Ethan's hand, and said sincerely, Ethan, I'm not very at ease with him venturing out on his own, but if he wants to follow you, I'm very at ease. I'm getting old. I can't help Tyler much. I just hope he can make something of himself. I want to ask you to look after him. These words fully expressed the bitterness and helplessness in an old father's heart. In Big Rock, Thomas Tate had authority, but outside Big Rock, Thomas was powerless. Ethan suddenly realized. He finally knew the purpose of the Tate father and son's visit today, and what the successive gestures of goodwill meant. It turned out they wanted to find a future for Tyler. Ethan was now clear in his heart. This was also a form of interest exchange. Indeed, given Tyler's situation, if he stayed in Big Rock, he would at most reach Thomas's position. But after Thomas retired, it might not even be Tyler's turn. Being trapped in Big Rock for a lifetime was indeed a torture for a young person who wanted to see the world. Ethan, don't worry. Working with you, I will definitely give 120%. I absolutely won't drag you down. Tyler said solemnly. Ethan laughed involuntarily. Tyler, I'm not questioning your ability. You have talent and capability, I know that. But let me remind you, venturing out isn't as comfortable as the comptroller's office. Hearing Ethan's words, a look of joy appeared on Tyler's face. What kind of man fears hardship and fatigue? I'm not afraid. Ethan nodded and smiled. All right then. After the new year, once you've processed your resignation, come work at my company. Since the Tate father and son were so sincere, and he owed favors for the new house and the mine, he would naturally agree to this matter. Debts of gratitude must be repaid. There is no such thing as owing favors and not repaying them. People who don't repay favors can't win hearts. Tyler was a bit excited and said gratefully, Okay, Ethan, thank you. Thomas was also happy, but he slapped the back of Tyler's head and teased, No manners. Call him Mr. Ford from now on. Tyler gave a dry laugh, scratched his head, and said sincerely, Hey, Dad, I know. Mr. Ford, boss. Ethan waved his hand and laughed. What boss? We're not at the company. Cut it out. Tyler understood the implication. This wasn't a formal occasion, so no need to call him that. The other meaning was informal occasions, be formal. Personal relationships were personal relationships. Work was work. He understood this clearly. Otherwise, wouldn't his years in a unit have been in vain? Hey, yes. Whatever the boss says goes, huh. Tyler laughed happily. With the matter settled, Thomas finally felt a stone drop from his heart. A few days ago, when Tyler expressed interest in working with Ethan, he was actually supportive. The enterprise Ethan built in Chicago was significant, and he was so close to Mayor K. There would definitely be many projects in the future. Tyler working with Ethan would broaden his horizons and give him access to more opportunities and higher-level contacts. He certainly wouldn't lack chances to make money. The Tate family's prosperity. He couldn't count on his daughter, so it all depended on his son. Thinking of this, Thomas handed Ethan a cigarette and sighed with emotion. 2 years ago, someone read Tyler's fortune. They said at 24, he would definitely have a benefactor help him. Sure enough, they weren't wrong. Ethan, you are that benefactor. Ethan took the cigarette and said politely, Hey, Uncle Thomas, you're joking. How am I benefactor? Whether one succeeds or not depends mostly on the individual. You are your own benefactor. As the saying goes, rely on the mountain and the mountain falls, rely on people and people run. Only you yourself are the most reliable. My help is limited. The platform and opportunity are only so big. Whether he can achieve results depends on Tyler. Thomas laughed. Haha, Ethan makes sense. Tyler, when you go out, learn humbly from Ethan. Be an honest person, work diligently, and don't disappoint Ethan. Tyler responded with a serious face. Dad, don't worry. I will. Only then did Thomas nod with satisfaction, then smiled at Ethan. Ethan, don't worry about building the house. I'll handle it for you. Regarding the vanadium mine, if there's any policy news, I'll notify you immediately. When it comes up for auction, there naturally won't be any problems. This was Thomas's promise to him. Ethan smiled faintly. Then, thank you for looking out for me, Uncle Thomas. As they were chatting, Ethan's phone rang. He took it out and saw it was a call from Victor the Reaper Vane. He immediately got up and walked out of the room to answer the call. Hey, Victor, Happy New Year. Haha, Ethan, when are you coming up to Chicago? Victor's hearty laughter came from the other end of the phone. Ethan was surprised. What made Victor so happy? I plan to go to Chicago tomorrow. Victor, hearing your voice, it sounds like something good happened. Victor laughed and said mysteriously, Of course I have good news for you. Fantastic news. Victor, what's the good news? Ethan asked curiously. Henry finally wised up. It's my birthday next week, and he plans to confess his feelings to my sister. Victor said happily. That's great news. How's he doing it? Any plans? Ethan's eyes lit up as he laughed. I'm calling you to discuss it, aren't I? Your brain is more active than mine. You surely have plenty of clever ideas. Victor said. Ethan chuckled. Sure, but I have some things to do right now. I'll be in Chicago tomorrow. Let's plan it together then. We can't talk clearly over the phone. That's true. Then I'll wait for your return. Come straight to my house. Victor instructed. No problem. Ethan laughed. After chatting for a while, they hung up. After hanging up, Ethan immediately called Henry Payne. Hey, Henry, you preparing to confess to Valerie? Ethan asked directly. Henry was stunned and asked in surprise. Ethan, I was just about to call you. How did you know? Victor told me. You got any ideas? Ethan laughed. On the other end of the phone, Henry scratched his head and whispered, I don't know how to do it. No experience. Ethan, can you help me come up with an idea? Ethan laughed. No problem. Tomorrow, meet at Victor's house. I'll call Tank later too. After hanging up, Ethan immediately notified Wayne Tank Turner the big news. Hearing this, Tank shouted excitedly, genuinely happy for Henry, and promised to be there. Ethan put down his phone, feeling happy in his heart. Henry had finally found his home. Why did I say home? Whatever. As long as he's not single anymore. Ethan turned back into the room, his face beaming. Ethan, what's wrong? You look like you won $5 million, Thomas asked with a smile. Ethan waved his hand and sighed. One of my brothers is about to stop being single. I'm happy. It wasn't easy. That is indeed a good thing. In this day and age, finding a girlfriend and getting a wife isn't easy. Thomas nodded. At this moment, Frank shouted from the kitchen, Son, the food is ready. Invite Mayor Tate to sit over here. Okay, Ethan responded, then invited the Tate father and son to the dining table to eat. This meal lasted from late morning until noon. 3 bottles of whiskey were consumed, and everyone drank to their heart's content. After seeing off the Tate father and son, Ethan went straight back to his room and lay down. Early the next morning, Ethan packed his luggage and got in the car, and the whole family went to meet the Millers. 3 cars came back, but now only 2 Audi A6s remained. Ethan planned to buy 2 more luxury cars when he returned to Chicago. Back in Chicago, it was exactly noon. After dropping his parents off at home, Ethan and Grace carried New Year's gifts and toys to Victor Vane's house. At Victor's door, Ethan rang the doorbell. A moment later, the door opened, and a plump, beautiful woman appeared. It was Victor's wife, Vanessa Vane. "Grace, Happy New Year." Ethan bowed slightly and smiled. "Vanessa, Happy New Year," Grace also greeted. It wasn't her first time at Victor's house. They knew each other. "Ethan, Grace, you're here. Come in and sit," Vanessa greeted warmly. Ethan carried the gifts inside. Victor's child, Timmy, saw Ethan and ran over excitedly shouting, "Uncle Ethan! Uncle Ethan! This kid, he definitely knows you bought him toys. He asks when you're coming all the time." Vanessa covered her mouth and laughed. "Haha, plenty of toys. Timmy, here, this is a super big tank." Ethan placed the toy in front of Timmy. "Wow, such a big tank." Timmy happily hugged the toy, jumping up and down. "This child, haven't you thanked Uncle Ethan yet? And did you wish Uncle Ethan a Happy New Year?" Vanessa scolded playfully from the side. Timmy remembered and bowed to Ethan. "Thank you, Uncle Ethan. Uncle Ethan, Happy New Year. Congratulations, and be prosperous. Timmy is so good. Here, take your lucky money." Ethan happily rubbed his little head and handed him a large red envelope. Thank you, Uncle Ethan." Timmy happily accepted the envelope. Grace squatted down, pinched his cute chubby cheeks, and laughed. "What about me? You haven't called me yet." "Auntie, congratulations, and be prosperous," Timmy said obediently. "So good." Grace also handed over an envelope. "Timmy is so cute. His cheeks are so fleshy," Vanessa teased. "Then why don't you hurry up and have a baby?" Grace's cheeks blushed. It's still early." She liked children very much, but that kind of thing really depended on fate. Victor Vane walked out of the tea room, saw Ethan and Grace, and smiled. "Ethan is here. Victor, Happy New Year." Ethan put down the gifts and greeted. "Hey, sit down first. Henry will be here soon. We have to come up with an idea for him today, no matter what," Victor laughed. Mentioning this, Grace got excited. She took out a notebook from her bag and said, "Victor, I thought about it last night and in the car. Currently, there are 18 proposal plans in total." Victor, "What, 18? Grace, where did you find those?" Grace said seriously, "Summarized from TV dramas. I also asked my best friend, Chloe." Cough, "All right, let's bring them all out for discussion later." Victor coughed twice, surprised Grace had so many ideas. About half an hour later, Henry Payne and Tank arrived together. A group of people gathered around the living room table to discuss the proposal plan. "How about this one? Right downstairs at her apartment complex. Set up flower lanterns in a heart shape. Then Henry, you stand in the middle. We'll lure Valerie down, and she'll definitely be surprised." Grace pointed to one of the plans. "Grace, the weather forecast says rain tonight," Tank said, twitching his mouth. Grace slapped her forehead. "Oh, I almost forgot. Oh no, if it rains, most of my plans won't work. Then didn't I waste my time organizing them?" She flipped through the notebook, bewildered. Her plans were all outdoors. If it rained, they were all ruined. Now everyone else was bewildered too. Victor was a rough man. He had no ideas. Henry was a simpleton. He couldn't think of anything good. Tank had stumbled into his own relationship by accident last time and had no good suggestions either. Grace's plans were impossible to execute due to the rain. "Ethan, do you have any ideas?" Victor looked at Ethan. Everyone else looked at Ethan in unison. "Me?" Ethan paused. Suddenly, a flash of inspiration struck his mind. He slapped his thigh and said, "Hey, I actually thought of one." "What is it? Tell us quickly," Victor asked curiously. Ethan turned to Henry and asked with a smile, "Henry, where was the first place you and Valerie met?" Henry scratched his head and replied, "In the hospital ward. She was taking care of me." Ethan grinned. "That's right. Then you have to go to the hospital one more time." Henry was confused and didn't understand. Ethan waved his hand and said to everyone, "My plan goes like this. Henry, follow the plan later. We'll be waiting right outside the ward. Remember, don't blow your cover. The ring is hidden in your jacket's left pocket. Don't lose it. We'll be outside with flowers and balloons. Once you distract her, text me immediately. We'll rush in and set everything up for you. When she comes back, take advantage of her confusion, pull out the ring, and propose right away. Is everyone clear? Move out. Go, go, go." Evening, at the hospital entrance. Ethan shoved Henry out of the car. Inside the car, Victor stared at him and instructed, Henry, be sharp, you hear? Henry was a bit dazed and nervous. Doing million-dollar projects hadn't made him this nervous. I will. Henry nodded heavily. With that, he turned and walked toward the hospital. Inside the hospital, Valerie Vane was on duty at the inpatient nursing station. Valerie, I'm off work. You'll have to work hard tonight. A female nurse took off her white coat and smiled. Valerie sat at the desk and replied with a smile. Okay, Nurse Fran, you go. Leave it to me, don't worry. The nurse named Fran put away her files and suddenly asked curiously, Hey, Valerie, why haven't I seen that boyfriend of yours come to find you today? What boyfriend? Not yet. Valerie blushed and stammered. Seeing her like this, Nurse Fran teased. Not yet? I see the word boyfriend written all over your face. Hey, if he's not your boyfriend, why do you go eat with him so often? Why does he visit you so much? TSK, I feel like you two are closer than a boyfriend and girlfriend. Valerie's face turned red. She pouted. If he hasn't confessed, so he isn't. What's there to confess? That's not popular anymore these days. Fran shook her head. Saying that, she leaned in and whispered in Valerie's ear, You have a few drinks with him, sleep together, and it's a done deal. Valerie's face burned. She said in annoyance, Oh, Fran, what are you saying? Really? Fran covered her mouth and laughed. Oh, blushing already? You usually seem so open-minded. Still saying he's not your sweetheart. If you ask me, stop waiting for the man to speak up. Find a chance and ask him yourself. Won't that do? All right, Fran. Hurry up and go home to your kids. So chatty. Valerie stood up and pushed her out. After a while, Valerie took out her phone, wanted to call Henry, but after hesitating, she didn't dial. Wonder where he is now. Is he busy? Will I disturb his work? Valerie muttered to herself, put down the phone, and rested her chin in her hands. Will that guy come and find me today? Should I find time to talk to him? If we're going to date, let's date. When did I become so cowardly? Oh, why think so much? Work. She patted her face to wake herself up. Suddenly, a nurse shouted from the door. Valerie, there's a patient being admitted. Come here for a second. Okay, coming. Valerie responded from the office and gathered her things. When she left the office and saw the patient, she froze. Henry. Yes, the person checking in was indeed Henry Payne. Henry turned his head, saw Valerie, and stammered, Valerie, I can be hospitalized. Valerie quickly walked over and asked with concern, Are you not feeling well? Are you hurt? Henry clutched his heart. He wanted to speak, but he forgot his lines. He secretly opened his palm, which had words written in ink. He read from his hand, word by word. My heart feels a bit uncomfortable. I came to treat my heart. Stay for observation. Valerie was dumbfounded. What's wrong with you? Why are you stuttering like you're jammed? Henry put his hand down and laughed dryly. In nothing. Valerie, arrange a room for me. All right, follow me. Hey, how come I've never heard you had heart trouble before? Valerie stared at him suspiciously. Henry mimicked Ethan's thick-skinned manner. I don't know either. Getting sick is hard to predict. Is that so? Valerie was suspicious, but still led him to a ward. Inside was an elderly couple in their 70s or 80s. You wait here first. I'll go check the registry, Valerie instructed, then check the book at the door. Henry immediately took out his phone and texted the room number to Ethan. Ethan, inpatient department, 6th floor, room 13. Come quick. On the other side, Ethan and the others were waiting for the message. Beep, beep, the phone rang. He immediately picked it up to check. Henry sent a text. Action. Ethan laughed. Everyone quickly got out of the cars, holding bouquets and balloons, causing passersby to look sideways. Hey, is this some big show? Valerie walked back into the ward, holding a thermometer, and said to Henry, Henry, the doctor said you need to take your temperature first. Okay. Henry immediately took off his jacket and placed it on the chair nearby. Valerie took his temperature and instructed, hold it tight. Come with me to the treatment room. Huh? Not here? Henry asked in surprise. Of course not here. Go to the treatment room. I need to examine you, Valerie said with concern. With that, Valerie casually picked up his jacket. All right, hurry up and follow. Henry patted his pocket, wanting to notify Ethan, but his phone was in the jacket pocket. He looked up, and Valerie had already left the room. Valerie, wait for me. He quickly chased after her. Arriving at the treatment room, Henry wanted to grab his jacket, but Valerie pushed him down onto the seat. Don't move. I've learned professional nursing. I'm going to listen to your heart now and check your heart rate, Valerie said seriously. This. Henry reached out to grab the jacket, but under Valerie's stern gaze, he pulled back and sat properly. Valerie put on the stethoscope, sat in front of him, reached into his clothes, and listened to his heartbeat. Henry looked at Valerie's face close at hand, her snowy skin, and the scent emanating from her body. His heart couldn't help but beat faster. It was normal just now. Why did your heartbeat suddenly speed up? Valerie made a sound of surprise. Cough, cough, and maybe there really is a problem, Henry said awkwardly, trying to stay calm. But Valerie suddenly stood up and leaned in closer again. The two were almost touching. Valerie was a bit puzzled. She took off the stethoscope and gently pressed her hand on Henry's chest to feel his heartbeat. My God, Henry, your heart is beating so fast. Do you really have heart disease? Valerie said seriously. Henry scratched his head. Maybe, probably, possibly. Valerie comforted. It's okay. Maybe just temporary arrhythmia. Listen to the doctor. Saying that, she got up to go to the treatment table to organize other things, preparing to do other admission checks for him. Henry, you should be fine, Valerie suddenly said out of the blue. Probably, but Valerie, can I go get my jack? Henry started to speak, but was interrupted by Valerie. Wait a moment. Valerie came over holding a blood pressure monitor, looking at him seriously. Henry. What is it, Valerie? Henry looked at her too. How about we date? How about we date? Did that? Henry's head buzzed instantly, and he didn't react for a moment. Valerie sat in front of him and said seriously, yes, just going out. Why? You don't want to go out with me, do you? Not like me. Valerie's tone was very calm, as if she were discussing a small matter with him, like what to eat for dinner tonight. Eat dough. Henry came back to his senses and nodded heavily. But as soon as the words left his mouth, something fell off. Why am I being confessed to? This wasn't the plan. Henry was a bit dazed, but he still repeated excitedly, I do. Valerie, be my girlfriend. Valerie patted his shoulder and laughed heartily. Ha, great. Then starting now, you're my boyfriend. Henry's mouth twitched. Why did it feel like sealing a business deal? By the way, Valerie, why did you suddenly? Henry scratched his head. Valerie gave a sweet smile. You said your heart was bad. I was afraid if I didn't say it, I might not have the chance later. Actually, I really like you. I don't want to have regrets. If I say it, at least there are no regrets. Henry, cough, cough, Valerie, actually, my heart is fine. This was my excuse. Henry told the truth. Valerie looked at him in astonishment. Then what did you come here for today? He immediately stood up to get his jacket, pulled the ring box out of the pocket, walked in front of her, and knelt on one knee. Valerie, actually, today I intended to confess to you. This ring, I give it to you. Henry stammered. He was efficient in his actions, but clumsy with his words, especially in front of Valerie. He always got inexplicably nervous. Valerie took the ring box, opened it, and inside was a diamond ring, sparkling and moving. Then put on for me. She extended her right hand, smiling coquettishly. Hey, okay. Henry revealed a happy smile and put the ring on her personally. In this moment, he felt his whole body relax. In this life, he had one more person to protect. He had one more family member, a lover. Hannah, Ethan, Tank, Valerie, and his brother-in-law, Victor. He had no home growing up. Perhaps in the near future, he would have a home and relatives. What a wonderful thing this was. Thinking of this, tears suddenly welled up in Henry's eyes. He hadn't frowned or shed a tear when he was stabbed a dozen times. But at this moment, he felt very happy, very blissful, because the most sensitive chord deep in his heart had been touched. Why are you crying? We're just dating. Why get so excited? Valerie helped him up and wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes. Henry laughed. Because I'm very happy. You silly fool. Valerie smiled sweetly, then wrapped her arms around his neck, stood on tiptoe, and kissed him. MMPH. Henry's body stiffened instantly, his hands froze in the air, and his mind exploded. Hold me, Valerie whispered while kissing him. Only then did Henry place his hands on her slender waist, holding her tightly. Valerie, I love you. On the other side, Ethan, Victor, and the others rushed to the inpatient department, 6th floor, room 13. They held huge bouquets of fresh flowers, causing patients along the way to stare dumbfounded. Number 13, the ward is right here. Ethan rejoiced. Move fast once we're in. Set it up immediately. Grace said excitedly. Roger. Victor turned to the brothers behind him. Hear that? Move faster. Bam. Ethan pushed the door open and immediately placed the bouquet on the table. Henry, are you ready? Ethan shouted. But when he looked up and scanned the room, he didn't see Henry. Only an elderly couple in their 70s or 80s stared at them in shock. Ethan. Holy crap. Where's Henry? Where's he? What did that guy run off to? Who are you? The old woman asked in amazement, looking at him. Then, The old woman turned to the old man and smiled. Old man, did you buy me all these flowers? The old man looked bewildered. I don't know. Instantly, an extremely awkward atmosphere filled the ward. Ethan was so embarrassed he could have dug a grave with his toes. Crap. So embarrassing. Cough, cough. Wishing you two a happy century together. These flowers are for you. Free. Ethan laughed awkwardly, left his flowers, and pushed everyone else out the door. At the door of the ward, Victor slapped his thigh and sighed. What happened? Where did that kid go? Tank scratched his head and asked, Does this count as our plan failing? At this moment, two nurses passed by, looking at Ethan and the group of weirdos with strange eyes. Nurse beauties, wait a second. Ethan quickly stopped them. What is it? Something wrong? Are you a patient's family? One short-haired nurse asked. The chubby nurse next to her shook her head. Visiting a patient. You don't need to be this exaggerated, do you? Too many flowers. Does your family own a flower shop? Ethan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Now is not the time to explain. He quickly asked, Sorry, I wanted to ask, where's Nurse Valerie? I just saw her and a patient in the treatment room. The short-haired nurse pointed to the other end of the corridor. Thanks. Ethan thanked her and quickly led Victor and the others toward the treatment room. The group arrived at the treatment room door, which had an observation window, to look inside. Ethan and Grace looked through the window and froze. A moment later, they both revealed weird smiles simultaneously. Seeing this, Victor's curiosity piqued, and he asked urgently, What is it? What happened? Are they inside? Victor squeezed in and, seeing the situation inside, his eyes widened. Holy crap. It worked? What's going on? Tank stretched his neck curiously. In the treatment room was a sweet and happy scene. Henry and Valerie were kissing. Damn, it worked. Ethan laughed happily. Henry succeeded in getting unsingled. Tank chuckled foolishly and asked, So our plan counts as a success? It should count as a success, but it also seems like it didn't completely succeed. Grace covered her mouth and laughed. Who cares? Anyway, the result is good. Hee hee. Victor revealed a proud big brother smile. That kid didn't disappoint me after all. A group of people holding massive bunches of flowers blocking the treatment room door to peep. This scene was truly bizarre. Inside the treatment room, Henry and Valerie slowly stopped. Both were panting slightly. Valerie's cheeks were flushed and charming. I still have a shift tonight, Valerie whispered. Then you go ahead. I'll wait for you at the hospital until you get off work. Henry laughed foolishly. Valerie gave a sweet smile and let him go. She turned her head and saw several pairs of eyes staring straight at her through the observation window on the door. She was dumbfounded on the spot. Who's outside? She blurted out in shock, thinking that her kiss with Henry just now had been seen by everyone. I want to die of embarrassment. Henry turned his head sharply, saw those eyes, and instantly recognized them. Holy crap, why are Ethan and the others here? Valerie, face flushed, walked over quickly and opened the door. The group swarmed in. Victor Vane laughed awkwardly. You two are here. We've been looking for you for ages. Valerie crossed her arms, staring at him, and questioned, How long have you been at the door? Just arrived. Really? Victor nodded heavily. Then he added, We didn't see anything, really. Ethan's mouth twitched. Victor, isn't that just giving yourself away? Ethan held up 4 fingers and said seriously, I swear, we really didn't see anything. Valerie glared at everyone in annoyance. I'm a bunch of big liars. I can't be bothered with you. I'm going to work. Make way. Valerie pushed through the crowd and left directly, but after stepping out the door, her pace suddenly quickened, and she ran away, covering her face. That girl, so she doesn't know how to be shy. Victor teased. Victor, why are you guys here? Henry walked over. We acted according to the plan, you dummy. Victor laughed. Henry's head was still a bit foggy. Now he remembered he had sent the room number. Ethan patted his shoulder and sighed with emotion. All right, Henry, congratulations. Officially off the market. Let's go, have a few drinks to celebrate. By the way, tell us the details. Hearing about drinking, Victor got interested and said boldly, right, go have a few drinks. Let's go. Henry smiled. Ethan, Victor, you guys go. I promised Valerie I'd wait for her at the hospital to get off work. Good kid. Turned into a saint of love in a blink. Fine, you wait then. We're going to drink. Victor laughed loudly. He knew Henry well. The guy was single-minded. But this also meant Henry was reliable. He felt very at ease in trusting Valerie to him. Since the matter is settled, disperse. We're going drinking. Victor waved his big hand, and the crowd left boisterously. Grace didn't like drinking and didn't bother mixing with a bunch of men, so she arranged to go shopping with Chloe Jones. Ethan and Victor went to a bar together. Victor had many venues. The metro and downtown districts were basically his territory. Other places were more remote, and he couldn't be bothered to expand. Those territories were small with little profit. It could be said that the places with the most profit in Chicago's nightlife were all Victor's turf. In a private room at the Night Rose Bar, smoke filled the air. Dozens of people were shouting and playing drinking games, very lively. However, Ethan, Victor, Tank, and Camel sat in a quieter corner. Victor downed a glass of beer and sighed with emotion. Ethan, I'm really happy today. So happy. I only have this one sister. Before, she had a big temper and high standards. She didn't like anyone. Watching her grow up day by day, I worried. Thinking, what if she never gets married? Now, I can finally rest assured. Seeing the smile, never leaving his face, Ethan could tell he was genuinely happy. Victor, you can relax now. Henry is a bit quiet, but he's a good person and honest. Having suffered for so many years, he knows how to care for people. They will definitely get along well. Ethan comforted. Victor hummed. I know that naturally. Otherwise, would I let them be together? Ethan, I'm very accurate at judging people. Ethan complimented. Yes, yes. Victor has seen more people than I've eaten meals. Victor laughed and scolded. Ha, you kid just love to flatter. But I like hearing it. Camel grinned and asked, Victor, when can the brothers drink at the wedding feast? Victor waved his hand and decided soon. Let them date for a while. Get engaged this year and married next year. Let you drink twice. No, 3 times. Had a baby next year. Handle it all together. Saying that, Victor asked Ethan, Ethan, you're a cultured man. How's that saying go? A big brother is like a father, right? Ethan nodded. Essentially, right. A big brother is like a father. I'm her big brother, so I'm basically her dad. What I say goes, Victor declared on the spot. Camel laughed happily. Ah, that's great. I'll wait for the wedding wine. Come, happy today. Everyone cheers. Everyone raised their glasses. They drank from evening until midnight. Victor rarely drank this much or was this happy. By midnight, he was pretty wasted. Ethan also felt his head spinning. He couldn't drink anymore. If he continued, he would definitely vomit. Dozens of people in the private room had already passed out drunk. Ethan waved his hands repeatedly. Victor, no more, no more. If I drink more, I'll be on the floor too. Victor put his arm around his shoulder. Fine, let's go upstairs for some tea. There are some things I want to talk to you about. Sure, let's go. Victor and Ethan supported each other, left the private room, and took the elevator straight to the 8th floor, the top floor of the bar. There was an office belonging to Victor here. The main hall of the office had a set of sofas, and behind the sofas was a huge floor-to-ceiling window offering a view of the neon lights of Chicago outside. As soon as they entered the office, forget making tea, they didn't even want to walk. They collapsed directly onto the sofa to rest. Victor sat up, took a pack of cigarettes, and handed one to Ethan. Have one. Ease up. Ethan took the cigarette, lit it, and took a drag. His head cleared a bit, but he still felt groggy. Seeing him like this, Victor laughed and scolded. You kid need to practice your alcohol tolerance more. Yes, need to practice. Ethan squinted, replying listlessly. Victor patted his own head to sober himself up. He looked back at the Chicago night view outside the window and sighed, Look how prosperous Chicago is. Ethan also sat up and leaned on the sofa to look. Yes, the biggest city in the region. Prosperous since ancient times. Victor gave a light laugh. The night view is beautiful, but I'm tired of looking at it. I don't plan to look anymore. Ethan turned to look at him in surprise, wondering why he suddenly said that. Victor blew a smoke ring and said calmly, For so many years, to be honest, I've always felt I owed Valerie. Since childhood, as a brother, I couldn't help her much. I even brought her a lot of trouble. I always hoped she could find a good man to marry, someone to protect her and care for her. Today, I finally saw some hope. Hearing the sincerity in his words, Ethan smiled. Victor, you're a good brother. Victor shook his head, smiling bitterly. Can't say that. I remember an old saying, once you enter the life and death are the boundaries. For people like us, earning money with our lives, not dying is lucky enough. But implicating family is a sin. How can I be called a good brother? Ethan flicked the ash from his cigarette and didn't reply. Victor was right. Once in this life and death were the boundaries. Anyone on this path would probably live in fear, including their family. Victor, then what are your plans for the future? How about? Ethan wanted to say something, but stopped halfway. Victor naturally knew what he wanted to say and chuckled. I want to get out of the game. Go legit. After Valerie and Henry get engaged. Then take my wife and kid to travel the world. See the world. Ethan was stunned. Go legit. Victor's face showed a trace of fatigue as he smiled. Yes, I never had this thought before, but seeing Valerie today gave me this idea. Consider it for myself and for Valerie. For my wife and child, it's time to step down. With that, he stood up, walked to the huge floor-to-ceiling window, and looked at the bustling urban night scene outside, with a reluctant look on his face. Chicago's night is truly beautiful. Late at night, inside the Whitestone Hotel, the lights were dim. A dozen men were surrounding a middle-aged man in a floral shirt. The guy in the floral shirt knelt on the ground, wiping the cold sweat from his forehead, looking nervous. Barry Baz, Mitchell sat in front of him, legs crossed, smoking a cigarette. Ethan Ford and Victor Vane are at the bar right now. The guy in the floral shirt nodded hurriedly. Yes, yes. Baz flicked away the cigarette in his hand, stood up abruptly, walked up to him, patted his face, and laughed. Very good. You did well. The guy in the floral shirt wiped the sweat from his face and laughed dryly. Baz, it was my duty, my duty. Baz gave a savage grin. When we get rid of Ethan Ford and Victor Vane, you'll take the top credit. After speaking, Baz stood up and waved his hand. Brothers, let's go. Time to work. Yes, Baz. A dozen people in the room shouted in unison. Just as Baz was about to lead the men out, Ray Young suddenly wheeled himself out in his wheelchair, blocking their way. Boss. Baz bowed. Ray Young scanned these people and asked, Where do you want to go? Baz smiled. Boss, we're going to the Night Rose Bar to take care of Ethan Ford and Victor Vane. Both of them are there. Ray Young snorted coldly and scolded, Fool. Victor Vane brings people with him everywhere now, let alone at his own turf. You reckless idiot. Baz's smile froze. He lowered his head, not daring to speak, waiting for the reprimand. Ray Young said, frustrated, Baz, I value you. It's good that you dare to fight, but you have to use your brain more. In our world, relying solely on fighting won't achieve great things. Baz pursed his lips, a look of unwillingness on his face, but he didn't dare say much in front of Ray Young. Yes, boss. Ray Young tapped the armrest and said in a low voice, Now is not the chance. We have to wait for the most suitable opportunity. Remember, we are a wolf hiding in the dark. We either don't bite, or when we bite to kill. The next day, noon, sunlight shone into the room through the white curtains. Ethan was sound asleep in bed. He had drunk a lot last night and hadn't woken up yet. Thump, thump. A sound came from the window, waking him from his dream. He rubbed his sleepy eyes, his head still groggy. Oh, who is it? Thump, thump. Ethan, the sun is roasting your butt. Still sleeping. Grace's crisp, sweet voice rang out from outside the window. Ethan threw off the blanket, rolled out of bed, and pulled open the curtains. The blinding sunlight almost kept his eyes shut. He shielded his eyes with one hand and opened the window with the other, seeing Grace wearing a white shirt, leaning out of the opposite window. Aha, morning, Grace. He yawned and smiled. Grace glared at him, retracting her extendable, clothes-drying pole. Mr. Ford, it's almost noon. Still early. Tell me, what time did you get back last night? Were you drunk? Ethan rubbed his temples. He didn't remember when he got back, or even how he got back. Cough. Probably 11 o'clock. Grace huffed, exposing him. No way. You weren't home yet at 11. All right. I forgot. Ethan laughed awkwardly. Oh, I'm so hungry. My stomach is growling. Starving to death. He quickly changed the subject. Grace pouted. Sleep so long. Of course you're hungry. Come over. I bought breakfast, bagels, and coffee. I'll heat it up for you. Ethan grinned. Hee. Grace loves me the best. Okay. I'll take a shower and be right there. After speaking, Ethan grabbed clothes from the closet and ran to shower. He had fallen asleep immediately upon returning last night and hadn't washed. Half an hour later, Ethan came out showered, changed into a blue shirt and casual pants, looking a bit like a business professional. This outfit was bought by Grace. He looked in the mirror and said with satisfaction, Tis not bad. Grace's good taste. Cleaned up and tidy, he ran to the Miller house. Just as he entered, he saw Grace bringing out the heated breakfast. Young Master Ford, you're finally up. Quick, sit down. This servant has made breakfast for you, Grace said, putting on an obedient act. Ethan's mouth twitched. He felt something was wrong, very wrong. Cough, Grace, what are you trying to do? If you have something to say it nicely. Agreed. A gentleman uses his mouth, not his hands. Ethan moved slowly, sitting down under Grace's concerned gaze. Grace opened her mouth, revealing two cute little tiger teeth. Sorry, this princess is not a gentleman. As her voice fell, she made a move as if to bite him. Ethan simply hugged her, pulled her into his arms, and kissed her. MMPH. Grace's eyes widened. After a flurry of frantic activity, Grace went limp in his arms a moment later. Ah, damn it, you cheated. Grace blushed, glaring at him. Ethan wiped his mouth and laughed. Hee hee, you forced me. Grace punched his chest lightly with her small fist, looking disgusted. Next time, don't drink so much. Drinking too much is bad. Drink less. I really worry about you. Ethan rubbed her small head and smiled. Okay, I promise you. Next time I'll drink less. I swear. Grace poked his forehead with her finger and huffed. I don't believe you. You just know how to trick me. All right, hurry up and eat. It'll get cold. Okay, I'm eating. Ethan focused on eating breakfast, or rather, lunch, filling his internal temple, while Grace rested her chin in her hands and watched from the side. In her eyes right now, he was everything. Ethan, eat slower. Careful not to choke. Grace pulled a tissue to wipe his mouth. Seeing Ethan's comical wolfing down of food, she couldn't help but want to laugh. Ethan is actually really cute sometimes. By the way, Ethan, Chloe said she's going to the high school in 2 days. I want to go back and see Mr. Zane too. Will you go? Grace asked softly. Sure. It's going to go back and see the old boss. Otherwise, once school starts, there won't be time, and he won't have time either. Ethan nodded and agreed. Speaking of the old boss, their homeroom teacher at Oak Creek High, Mr. Zane. In high school, he had the nickname Demon Zane. He was a teacher who was particularly strict with students, but actually cared for them very much. For 3 years in high school, Ethan's grades weren't very good originally, but Mr. Zane never gave up on him, nor did he despise him for dragging down the class. Ethan was grateful to Mr. Zane. He had thought about finding time to visit him before, and now that Grace said she wanted to go back, they could fulfill this wish together. Grace smiled sweetly. Then it's settled. Let's go buy some gifts later. 2 days later, Oak Creek High School. It was a sunny day but a bit humid. It had rained the day before, and the sun came out today, typical humid weather. Duke and Dan Drake drove 2 cars, 2 Audi A6s, toward Oak Creek High. Grace and Chloe Jones wanted to whisper secrets, so they threw Tank into the same car as Ethan. Ethan, to be honest, going back to see Mr. Zane, my legs are shaking a bit. Tank laughed at himself. Every time he thought of Mr. Zane's serious face, it was simply a nightmare of his high school days. Ethan teased. What are you afraid of? Mr. Zane is a bit strict, but he's not a monster. He won't eat people. Actually, he's quite a nice person. An excellent teacher. Tank scratched his head and laughed naively. That's true, but I'm still afraid of him. At this moment, inside the faculty dormitory building at Oak Creek High, Mr. Zane was burying his head in lesson plans. His wife, Tanya Zane, brought in a cup of tea. George, still busy? Didn't you say a few students were coming to visit today? Mr. Zane didn't look up. MHM, I'll go help you cook as soon as I finish writing this paragraph. Tanya was used to talking to him like this over the years. Mr. Zane had dedicated his whole life to education. Apart from work, he didn't seem to care much about anything else. After a while, Mr. Zane finished. Only then did he stop his pen and take a sip of tea. All right, I'll stop here for today. I'll continue tomorrow. Don't blame me. The new semester is about to start. I have to prepare the lesson plans early. Mr. Zane looked up and said. Tanya rolled her eyes at him. I know you're busy. Otherwise, I would have just done it myself. Mr. Zane stood up to comfort her. Okay, I'm going to help you. Is that good enough? The couple left the room and entered the kitchen to start cooking. How many people are coming in total? I'll cook more rice, Tanya asked. 6, maybe 7. Just cook a full pot, mister. Zane replied with a smile. Tanya washed the vegetables and laughed. Every year after the holidays, wave after wave of students comes back to see you. Aren't they afraid of your stone face? Am I that scary? Mister. Zane frowned. Look, just the way you are now. Any student would be scared of you. Tanya looked back and laughed. Can't change it now. But I'm quite happy that the kids come back to see me. A kind smile finally appeared on Mr. Zane's face. Teaching for so many years, he never expected every student to like him. If students came back to see him, he was satisfied. The couple worked together, one prepping, one stir-frying. Before long, 5 home-cooked dishes were ready. Knock, knock. There was a knock at the door. Coming. Mr. Zane wiped his hands and shouted. Is it Ethan? You want to open the door? Standing there were 2 young men. Teacher, Happy New Year. The 2 young men greeted in unison. Uriah West, Lucas Bell, you're here. Come in and sit, Mr. Zane greeted with a smile. They were students from the class of 96. Uriah was the former academic rep and a student who visited often. Uriah wore black frame glasses, had a crew cut, and wore a plaid shirt, radiating the aura of an engineering guy from head to toe. Uriah walked in and laughed happily. Teacher, I've come to disturb you again. Hey, what are you saying? I'm happy you could come, mister. Zane said kindly. We all remember your kindness. For a lifetime, we agreed to come see you every year. Lucas Bell laughed loudly. He had his hair parted on the side. I know you have heart. Sit first, mister. Zane greeted. Uriah put down a large gift bag on the table and saw 6 dishes already laid out, more than usual. Hey, really trouble you to cook so many dishes, teacher. Mister. Zane poured tea and laughed. It's not just you two today. A few more students are coming later. Is that so? Juniors? Uriah asked casually. Yes. Class of 2000. Come, don't stand. Sit, mister. Zane smiled. The 3 sat down. Mister. Zane looked at Uriah, seeing his face was a bit haggard, and asked, Uriah, how is your work now? You don't look very well. Uriah smiled bitterly. Same old. Busy in the lab all day. I have to start a new semiconductor project as soon as I get back after the new year. I specially took leave to come out today. Otherwise, I probably won't have free time for the next 2 months. Lucas teased. Uriah, capable people do more work. If they don't squeeze you, who will they squeeze? Uriah sighed. If they squeeze any harder, I'll be dry. My team is carrying the projects. If we don't add more hands, it's too hard to sustain. Mister. Zane kept a straight face. No matter how busy, you must pay attention to your health. Health is the capital of work. You need to rest more. Uriah mocked himself. Teacher, if I rest, I probably won't have rice to eat. Mister. Zane glared at him. What are you saying? You graduated from top-tier university. How can a college graduate not find a job? If it really doesn't work, just change jobs. Don't ruin your health for money. Uriah smiled bitterly. Teacher, I wanna, but my industry circle is only so big. There are only a few companies in Chicago. Where else can I go? Forget it. I'll just endure for now. If I really can't take it anymore, big deal, I'll change careers. Lucas quickly advised. Change careers? Uriah, wouldn't your years of effort be wasted? You've won several big awards. I advise you not to switch. Talk to your boss. Uriah spread his hands helplessly. If I could talk, I would have talked long ago. Wait until today. Forget it. It's the holidays. Let's not talk about these depressing things. He turned to look at Mr. Zane and asked, By the way, teacher, I haven't had time to congratulate you. I heard your class last year produced several students who went to Ivy League schools, and one was the state top scorer. Mentioning this, the wrinkles on Mr. Zane's face smoothed out with laughter. Yes. The kids from the class of 2000 were quite competitive. Indeed, one was the state valedictorian. But he didn't go to Harvard or MIT. He went to Illinois Tech. Went to Illinois Tech. Uriah was very surprised. Yes, everyone has their own choices. Illinois Tech is also good, Mr. Zane smiled. True, Illinois Tech is good too. He can definitely get into a master's or PhD program later. Lots of future, Uriah said enviously. For a state valedictorian to go to Illinois Tech, there were likely preferential conditions like guaranteed grad school admission. Those conditions alone were enviable. Mr. Zane said with gratification, Yes. That child's family background was a bit poor, but he is very talented. He will definitely be able to change his destiny in the future. Hearing this, Lucas laughed loudly. In that case, teacher, ask him later. If he wants to earn money while studying, he can come to us. We have many part-time opportunities here, as long as he can use a computer. That would be great. He's majoring in computer science. Mr. Zane rejoiced. Hey, no need to wait for another day. You came just in time. That child is coming over today. Have a good chat with him later. You seniors should help as much as you can. As long as he's willing to work and put in the effort, there's still plenty of opportunities out there, right, Uriah? Lucas Bell said with a smile. Yeah, I have a feeling that once we fully integrate with the global market, opportunities will be popping up everywhere. Well, except maybe in my line of work. Uriah West replied with a self-deprecating laugh. Lucas teased. Come on, Uriah. Don't be such a pessimist. The industry you're in is growing fast. Once the profits start rolling in, your compensation will definitely go up. Uriah smiled bitterly. I sure hope so. Mr. Zane stood up. You guys sit tight. I'm gonna go help out in the kitchen. We'll eat as soon as everyone arrives. Uriah stood up immediately. Teacher, let us help you. Mr. Zane waved his hands repeatedly. No, your guests. Just sit and have some coffee. But Uriah was already rolling up his sleeves. Don't be polite with us, Mr. Zane. Guest or not, we'll always be your students. Helping out is the least we can do. He turned to Lucas. Right, Lucas? Lucas stood up as well. Exactly. Many hands make light work. How could we let you and Mrs. Zane do all the work? Mr. Zane couldn't win against the two of them, so he let them join him in the kitchen. While they were busy preparing food, a knock came at the door. Mr. Zane wiped his hands and smiled. At this hour, that must be Ethan and the gang. He went to open the door, and sure enough, standing outside were Ethan Ford, Grace Miller, Wayne Tank Turner, and Chloe Jones. Happy holidays, Mr. Zane. We came to wish you a happy new year. Ethan said, holding up a large gift basket. Hello, Mr. Zane. Grace chimed in sweetly. Tank shrank his neck slightly and chuckled dryly. Happy New Year, Mr. Zane. Come on in. But really, just your presence is enough. Next time, no gifts. Mr. Zane laughed, trying to look stern but failing. Ethan smiled. We couldn't do that. How can we visit our favorite teacher empty-handed? Please, just accept it. Ethan hadn't bought anything extravagantly expensive, just some gift baskets with snacks, chocolates, and some clothes. For holiday visits, it was the thought that counted. Overly expensive gifts just created pressure. As they walked into the living room, Ethan set down his gift basket and noticed other gifts on the table. Someone else was already here? Hey there. Happy New Year to the younger class. Lucas Bell walked out holding a head of lettuce, greeting them warmly. Mr. Zane introduced them. Ethan, these two graduated in '96. They're your upperclassmen. This is Lucas Bell, and the other one is Uriah West. Uriah wiped his hands and poked his head out of the kitchen, revealing a friendly face. Hey, Mr. Zane, which one is the state top score from last year? Uriah asked curiously. Mr. Zane beamed. That would be Ethan here, the state valedictorian. Out of all the students I've taught, he's got the best exam scores. Huh, Mr. Zane's voice was filled with pride. Ethan bowed slightly to the two alumni. Happy New Year, Lucas, Uriah. It's a special kind of fate to meet at Mr. Zane's house today. I hope you'll look out for us in the future. His words made the two older graduates feel quite respected. Lucas and Uriah came out of the kitchen completely. Uriah smiled happily. We're all Mr. Zane students. Looking out for each other is just what we do. We help each other. After some pleasantries, Mrs. Zane, Tanya, came out carrying a dish. The food is ready. Don't just stand there. Come on, sit down. We can talk while we eat. You got it, Mrs. Zane, Ethan responded, helping to arrange the seats. Around a table filled with home-cooked dishes, the group laughed and chatted, the atmosphere lively and warm. I'm happy today. Would you guys like a drink? You've all graduated and are adults now, so a little drink shouldn't hurt. Mr. Zane took out a large water bottle that was actually filled with moonshine from the local market. Mr. Zane, I drove here, so I'm the designated driver today. Uriah can drink with you, Lucas said quickly. Mr. Zane looked surprised. Lucas, you haven't been out of college that long, have you? You already bought a car. Lucas smiled modestly. Oh, Mr. Zane, it's just a Honda Accord sponsored by my family. My salary wouldn't be enough to buy a car yet. Mr. Zane waved his hand. All right, fair enough. You don't drink then. I'll drink with the others. He turned to Ethan. Ethan, will you guys have some? Ethan nodded and smiled. Sure, Mr. Zane. We took a cab here, so a little drink is fine. Ha, excellent. Let's have some then, Mr. Zane said happily. Mr. Zane personally poured the liquor for the students. Come, let's raise a glass. To your academic progress, success in work, and most importantly, good health. Mr. Zane toasted. Everyone raised their glasses. After a few rounds, everyone was in high spirits. Mr. Zane turned to Ethan. Ethan, how are you finding life at Illinois Tech? How are your studies? It's good. The classmates are friendly. And don't worry, Mr. Zane, I haven't slacked off. I didn't fail any exams last semester. Ethan replied with a smile. Tank chimed in enviously. Didn't fail? He nearly aced every subject. Seriously, when it comes to academic talent, people are just built differently. Ethan, spare me some of that talent, will you? I failed one class. Uriah looked surprised. Near perfect scores? That's impressive, Ethan. To get near perfect scores in college meant the highest scholarship was practically guaranteed. As expected of the state valedictorian, Ethan was modest. There's some luck involved. The exams covered exactly what I reviewed. It wasn't particularly hard. Mr. Zane looked very gratified. Ethan, you haven't disappointed me. But right, don't get arrogant. Keep it up and aim to graduate with honors. It'll make finding a job much easier later. Finding a job? Ethan paused. He hadn't really thought about looking for a job. Mr. Zane downed a glass of liquor and asked, Ethan, I read in the paper that the Tri-State Steel Mill is closing down after the new year. I heard it's being acquired by an out-of-state steel company. Ethan nodded. Yeah, the acquisition process has already started. It's supposed to be finalized this month. These were confirmed details Ethan knew. Doesn't your dad work at the mill? If it's acquired, won't he be laid off? Mister, Zane asked with concern. Ethan smiled lightly. Yeah, not just my dad. Most of the employees at the mill will be let go. Seeing him smile, Mr. Zane felt a pang of sadness. This kid was still so optimistic. The family's main breadwinner was about to be laid off. How would they manage? Sigh. The world is unpredictable and ruthless. Society these days. So many workers are losing their jobs. Ethan, don't worry too much. Just study hard, and you'll definitely make something of yourself in the future, Mr. Zane advised earnestly. Ethan nodded heavily. Yes, Mr. Zane. I'll follow your advice and focus on my studies. Hearing that Ethan's father was about to lose his job, Uriah couldn't help but lament the cruelty of the world. Ethan had such high academic talent, yet his family was in such difficulty. What about tuition? Living expenses? Living costs for a month had to be at least $400, right? If the family had no economic means, they probably couldn't support him for long. No wonder Mr. Zane had hinted for him to help. It seemed the kid really was in trouble. With his junior in such a bind, how could he, as a senior, not lend a helping hand? Uriah's nose tingled, feeling a wave of sympathy for Ethan. This kid was hardworking and ambitious, but reality was just too cruel. Come on, it's the holidays. Let's not talk about sad things. The future is definitely bright. Ethan, as long as you stay optimistic, you'll be fine. Uriah raised his glass. Thanks for the encouragement, Uriah. Cheers. Ethan clinked his glass against Uriah's. The meal lasted for over an hour, shifting from work talk to pure life chat. After eating, Mr. Zane invited everyone to have some coffee. Grace and Chloe helped Mrs. Zane clear the table. Come try this coffee I bought. It's a supermarket house blend, a bit cheaper, but the taste isn't bad, Mr. Zane said to the group. Ethan took a sip and felt a bit of bitterness. Perhaps he had gotten too used to high-end private reserve blends. Suddenly drinking the cheaper stuff felt a bit jarring. But that bitterness also brought back memories of when he first started his business with Tank. Back then, they were holed up in a small shop with Henry Payne and his sister, eating cheap takeout with a side of construction dust. Those days were bitter, but everyone was happy. The entrepreneurial journey had been filled with difficulties, but with this group of brothers, they had made it through. Good coffee. I used to drink this blend all the time, Ethan smiled. It was true. When they had no money, the family drank cheap coffee. It had a unique flavor. Not about the beans, but about the memories. Haha. As long as you like it, Ethan. I'll give you a couple of bags to take home later. Mr. Zane laughed. Just then, Ethan's phone rang. It was Duke Drake. Ethan answered immediately. Hey, Duke, what's up? Ethan asked. Boss, I just ran into the principal of Oak Creek High downstairs. He heard you were here and said he wants to come up and see you. Duke replied. The principal? Principal Lambert? What does he want? Ethan asked, surprised. I don't know, but he's already on his way up, Duke replied. Ethan shook his head with a helpless smile. Probably coming to talk business. He finally had a few days of rest, and now this. All right, I got it. Ethan responded and hung up. Lucas, overhearing him, asked curiously, Ethan, who was that? Who's looking for you? Principal Lambert. He called me before the holidays to schedule a lunch, but I didn't expect him to be downstairs today. Ethan shook his head and smiled. Lucas laughed. That's a good thing. You're the state top scorer. Principal Lambert must be especially concerned about you. But speaking of which, Ethan, I have some part-time opportunities at my place. Are you interested? The money isn't huge, but it should be enough to get by. Ethan paused. Part-time? I don't need a part-time job. Lucas looked serious. Oh, come on, young man. Don't let pride get in the way. In life, cash is what matters. Mr. Zane just mentioned your difficulties. As your upperclassman, I'll help where I can. No questions asked. Uriah chimed in. Yeah, Ethan. Even though we're just employees, we've been out in society a bit longer. My company has some part-time openings too. If you do well, it could really help support your family. Ethan listened, wanting to laugh and cry at the same time. When did he become a charity case in their eyes? He was just about to explain when a knock came at the door. Hey, that must be Principal Lambert coming to see our star student. I'll get it. Uriah stood up with a smile. Uriah opened the door to reveal a middle-aged man in a black windbreaker, sporting a comb-over and glasses that framed a pair of shrewd, squinting eyes. Principal Lambert. Hello. Uriah greeted him. Mr. Zane also came over to welcome him. Principal, hello. What brings you here? Principal Lambert had originally come to visit his sister-in-law in the building. He had noticed two Audi A6 sedans downstairs and thought some city official was visiting. Upon inquiring, he found out it was Ethan Ford who had returned. Before the holidays, city leaders had visited the school and mentioned Ethan, which was when Lambert learned that Ethan was actually the owner of the West Ford Group. Oak Creek High's state valedictorian was the boss of a major corporation. That was a huge honor. He had kicked himself for not connecting with Ethan sooner. He had tried calling before the break to set up a meal, hoping to build a relationship and maybe secure some sponsorship. Big bosses love sponsoring their alma maters. It gained them a reputation and connections. It was a win-win. So, knowing Ethan was at Mr. Zane's, he came straight up. He had to see Ethan no matter what. Mr. Zane, Happy New Year. Is Mr. Ford still here? Principal Lambert asked very politely. Mr. Ford? You mean Ethan? Mr. Zane asked uncertainly. Yes, the pride of Oak Creek High, our state valedictorian. Lambert clapped his hands. Ethan is here. Come principal. Mr. Zane ushered him in. Ethan, the principal is here to see you. Ethan had already walked to the entryway, smiling. Happy New Year, Principal Lambert. Mr. Ford. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Principal Lambert stepped forward quickly, shaking Ethan's hand enthusiastically, his face piled with smiles. Uriah and Lucas were dumbfounded. Mr. Ford, what was going on? Why was the principal so enthusiastic towards him? Principal, why are you calling him Mr. Ford? Who? Ethan. Mr. Zane was also confused. Principal Lambert looked surprised. You guys don't know? Ethan is the owner of West Ford Group. Calling him Mr. Ford is perfectly appropriate. What? Ethan is the owner of West Ford Group. Mr. Zane exclaimed in shock, his jaw dropping. Group owner? Uriah gasped, his eyes widening in disbelief. Lucas was also flabbergasted, opening his mouth but finding no words. He had just tried to offer him the part-time job. The guy was a big boss. Damn, that was a massive misunderstanding. Oh, Principal, you're too kind. It's just a small business, Ethan said modestly. Principal Lambert's eyes narrowed into slits as he laughed. Oh, Mr. Ford, don't be humble. You can't fool me. I heard the city leaders are planning to award you the Advanced Tech Enterprise certification. The entire computer market in Chicago gets its stock from West Ford Group, a company worth tens of millions. And you call it a small business? You're too modest. What? Tens of millions. Uriah was even more shocked. So his junior wasn't just a boss, but a super boss. He was way too low-key. Ethan smiled. Principal, let's not stand here. Have a seat, let's talk. Good. After you, Mr. Ford. Principal Lambert gestured for Ethan to go first, showing full respect. Uriah and the others watched this, their shock deepening. Even Principal Lambert was this polite to him. He really wasn't an ordinary boss. Everyone sat in the living room drinking coffee. Principal Lambert took out a pack of cigarettes, offering one to Ethan first, then to the others. Mr. Ford, since we happened to meet today, there's actually something I wanted to ask your opinion on, Lambert said as he lit his cigarette. Oh, what is it? Go ahead, Principal. Ethan smiled. He could tell this principal was a smooth operator. He wouldn't come without a reason. Principal Lambert paused for a moment, then said politely, I'm planning to set up an alumni hall of fame at the school. You are Oak Creek High's first state valedictorian and a well-known entrepreneur. I think you fit the criteria perfectly. I want to invite you, Mr. Ford, to join the Hall of Fame. It would set an excellent example for future students. Ethan didn't hesitate. He smiled and said, That's a great proposal, Principal. As a graduate of Oak Creek High, I fully support it. Ethan had seen plenty of things like alumni halls of fame, and he rarely refused them, because it was a networking platform. Regardless of the fame aspect, maintaining alumni relationships was necessary. Such platforms were often the first networks a person could access in life. Once out in society, opportunities to expand one's circle in such an organic way were rare. For example, many officials in the system knew each other and helped each other largely because they attended the same training classes or seminars, becoming classmates. Many people relied on these connections to climb the ladder. Business was the same. Turning a stranger into a partner, or someone would do you a favor, was difficult. But with the pre-existing connection of sharing a school, things became much easier. Oak Creek High was a key high school that had produced many officials and business people. It had connections in both politics and commerce, which was something Ethan valued. Principal Lambert beamed. With your support, Mr. Ford, I'm sure this Alumni Hall of Fame will be a success. It's just that, Mr. Ford, the school is currently expanding. I want to build a separate building for the Hall of Fame to serve as an exhibition center, but getting the funding from above might be a bit difficult. His implication was clear. He hoped for a sponsorship. To get things done, the school needed money. Ethan smiled knowingly. I see. Since you're doing this for the school, principal, and as a student of Oak Creek, I will definitely support it heavily. On behalf of West Ford Group, I can donate $300,000 to the school. This can be used for the expansion, not just for the Hall of Fame building, but also to renovate the main Student Art Center. Let the younger students have a better environment for activities. Everyone present was stunned. What? $300,000? Principal Lambert was dumbfounded. He had originally hoped to pull in maybe $20,000 or $30,000 and then contact other alumni to scrape together $100,000 total. But Ethan opened with $300,000. It scared the wits out of him. Mr. Zane was also stupefied. How could a student just casually toss out hundreds of thousands? Was he that rich? Uriah and Lucas looked at each other, shocked by Ethan's generous hand. Uriah clicked his tongue. Ethan, that's $300,000. Ethan smiled faintly. I know. Is there a problem? $300,000 was a drop in the bucket for Ethan now. He spent more than that just buying a few company cars. Principal Lambert couldn't believe it and asked for confirmation. Mr. Ford, are you serious? You want to donate $300,000 to the school? Ethan nodded. Yes, Principal. Principal Lambert took a deep breath and shook Ethan's hand vigorously. Mr. Ford, on behalf of Oak Creek High, I thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your strong support. Sure enough, coming to find Ethan today was the right move. This kid was truly generous. Amazing. Just a modest contribution, Principal. No need to be so polite, Ethan said courteously. Donating to the school was beneficial for him too. With this relationship, he could expand many connections. Future graduates of Oak Creek High would definitely feel a sense of closeness to West Ford Group. Whether high school or college, Ethan planned to make strategic donations when appropriate. Spending money to build a network was worth it. Principal Lambert slapped his thigh in delight. It is truly our honor to have a graduate like Mr. Ford at Oak Creek High. I think the Student Arts Center building should be named the West Ford Building. What do you think, Mr. Ford? Principal Lambert knew how to return a favor. If you think that's appropriate, Principal, Ethan said noncommittally. Principal Lambert was quick on the uptake. Then it's settled. It will be called the West Ford Building. Future students will surely remember this kindness. With the business talk done, the group drank coffee and chatted casually. Ethan asked Uriah, curiously, Uriah, you mentioned earlier that you work in the semiconductor industry. Which company are you with? Chicago Semiconductor Devices. It has an integrated circuit research institute under it. I lead a project team there. Uriah scratched his head embarrassedly. He felt a bit inferior in front of Ethan now. He couldn't help it. His junior was too outstanding. Ethan was a group chairman, while he was just an employee. His title sounded high level, but he was just a glorified worker. Ethan's eyes flashed with interest. So, semiconductor devices. You know us, Ethan. Uriah was surprised. The company was well known within the Chicago semiconductor field, but only to insiders. Most people didn't know about it. Ethan smiled mysteriously. Is your company currently negotiating an acquisition? Is it the State Chip Industry Group proposing the acquisition, backed by state capital? Uriah's face showed shock. How'd you know? Ethan smiled. Nothing much. Just heard some rumors. In fact, this matter was significant. Ethan paid close attention to the semiconductor and integrated circuit industries and knew about this. Later, the Academy of Sciences would take the lead, combining the Semiconductor Institute with the state-backed Research Institute to form the Integrated Circuit and Applications Institute, laying the foundation for the state to become a major player in the domestic semiconductor industry. The semiconductor supply chain mainly consisted of material suppliers, equipment manufacturers, design services, and manufacturing/packaging. The main product was chip manufacturing. These were the upstream industries. Downstream were industrial electronics, consumer electronics, and other applications. At this point in 2001, the country was mainly developing the downstream of the integrated circuit chain, manufacturing various electronic products. However, the upstream was still controlled by foreign entities, who took the lion's share of the profits. Domestic companies only got meager manufacturing margins. But this was a path that had to be walked. Uriah laughed dryly. Is that so? I thought the company was keeping it confidential. Didn't expect it to spread. Discussions about this were banned in the company, so it was surprising Ethan knew. Ethan thought for a moment and smiled. What area of research do you focus on, Uriah? Oh, I work in consumer electronics. Various home appliances, small gadgets, things like that. Not exactly cutting-edge high-tech, Uriah said modestly. Ethan's eyes lit up. He was interested. Consumer electronics? That's not bad. Uriah, I'm planning to invest in an electronics plant in the tech district. Would you be interested? Ethan extended an olive branch. Uriah paused, pointing at himself, stunned. Huh? Me? In that moment, he felt like a giant pie had fallen from the sky and smashed him on the head, knocking him dizzy. Uriah was completely bewildered. Ethan wanted to open an electronics plant, and he was offering him an olive branch. Ethan, no, Mr. Ford. I'm just a researcher. Would I be suitable? Uriah lacked confidence. Ethan smiled. Of course. I'm specifically looking for research talent. You're perfect. Someone who can lead a project team at a semiconductor company. How could you be anything less than excellent? Uriah, if you're willing, you can come to my plant as the technical director, specifically in charge of product R&D. Everyone around them was shocked. Technical director. The compensation for a plant's technical director would undoubtedly be incredible. Uriah had really met a benefactor. Even Lucas looked at him with envy. This was equivalent to letting Uriah skip several rungs on the corporate ladder, jumping straight to an executive position. Hearing the title, technical director, Uriah felt even dizzier. His mind was buzzing, and he couldn't make a decision right away. Ethan saw his hesitation and smiled. You don't need to decide immediately. Come visit my company later, have a seat, and we can talk in detail then. How about that? Ethan was giving him a choice, not forcing him. Uriah nodded repeatedly. Yes, Mr. Ford. Let me think about it. Mr. Ford, I have a question. Why? Why do you want to invest in the semiconductor industry? The scale of investment in this industry is massive, not ordinary. And the return cycle is very slow. The supply chain is long. Compared to the profit returns of the internet industry right now, it's really too low. Lucas nodded. Yeah, even though the country is pushing manufacturing, the profit margins are very low, especially with such huge capital required for semiconductors. You might not see a profit anytime soon. Facing their doubtful gazes, Ethan said calmly, some things, no matter how difficult, someone has to do them. If you don't do it, I don't do it, then this industry will forever be choked by Western capital. We'll never be able to stand on our own. I know investing in semiconductors might not make money quickly, and it requires huge funds. I know all that, but I just don't want to see a day where our domestic tech industry is strangled by foreign entities, kneeling before foreign capital begging for scraps. If our country wants to achieve industrial upgrades, we can't do it without a cutting-edge semiconductor industry, and we certainly can't do it without cutting-edge science. To develop technology, someone must be brave enough to invest, even if not for personal gain, then for this country, for everyone's future. Towards the end, Ethan's tone became increasingly firm. Investing in semiconductors was something he had always wanted to do. In his previous life, he missed this golden era. The prevailing thought in the domestic industry became, buying is better than building, thinking that building it themselves was too slow and it was better to use foreign tech. This mindset became mainstream, causing the domestic semiconductor industry to stagnate, eventually leaving the country's technological development firmly in the grip of foreign powers, half dead and in extreme pain. He knew the future, so he cherished the present even more. He knew he couldn't miss this golden window of opportunity again. If the domestic semiconductor industry wanted to rise, they had to build it themselves. They couldn't rely on others, especially not Western capital. Ethan's firm words infected everyone present. Though not overly aggressive, they made people's blood boil. Uriah clenched his fists, his eyes shining. Mr. Ford, if all entrepreneurs had your vision, why would we worry about our semiconductor industry not flourishing? Mr. Zane personally poured tea for Ethan, sighing with emotion. Ethan, with that kind of awareness, you are the student I am most proud of. Tank raised his fist and laughed. Following Ethan is never wrong. I believe no matter how hard it is, we can overcome it. Ethan raised his cup and smiled. Haha, with everyone working together, success will come naturally. Cheers. Everyone raised their cups for a toast. At 3 p.m., it was getting late. The coffee was finished, and the conversation had been thoroughly enjoyable. Uriah had things to do and stood up to leave. Ethan and his group also took their leave. Downstairs, Ethan said goodbye to Uriah and Lucas. Uriah, come sit at the company when you have time. You're always welcome. Ethan shook his hand and smiled. Definitely, Mr. Ford. I'll be there. Uriah nodded heavily. All right, you guys head back if you're busy. We're heading out too. Let's meet up again sometime. Ethan waved, then got into the Audi. Duke Drake started the car and left the staff housing complex. Uriah and Lucas watched Ethan's car until it disappeared from sight. Uriah, you really met a benefactor today, Lucas said enviously. Yeah, a true benefactor. Our junior is incredible. Uriah smiled. Let's go visit West Ford Group another day. You go back and think about it. I think Mr. Ford is very sincere. Technical director. How long would it take for most people to reach that position? Lucas patted his shoulder. Uriah smiled bitterly. Honestly, I'm very tempted. But reason tells me I need to think twice before doing anything. I can't be rash, especially for us researchers. How can I decide on a whim? Haha, true. Consider it yourself. Come on, get in the car, Lucas laughed. On the other side, Grace held Ethan's arm and asked, You dummy, what were you guys talking about just now? It got so intense. Why did I feel like they were brainwashed by you? Ethan laughed dumbly. What brainwashing skills do I have? We were just talking about work. Men, aside from talking about women, only talk about work. Grace pinched him. You're just a workaholic. But you were really charming just now. A man working seriously, focused on his career, was handsome, wasn't he? She had listened from the side, and although she didn't understand at all, seeing Ethan's spirited appearance was simply too handsome. He exuded a certain charm, an attractive charisma. That was the Ethan she liked. Grace smiled sweetly and pecked him on the cheek. Such a handsome dummy deserves a reward. Ethan whispered with a wicked grin. Then, another reward tonight? Grace blushed and pinched him again. Ow, Grace, you pinched me again. Dummy, who told you to push your luck? Forbidden. While they were flirting, Duke Drake in the driver's seat coughed dryly twice. Grace's face flushed red, and she fell silent. With others present, she was thin-skinned and didn't dare be too brazen. By the way, Ethan, what gift are you planning to buy for Victor's birthday? Ethan rubbed her head and smiled. Don't worry, I've already prepared the birthday gift. You don't need to stress about it. Duke turned the steering wheel, preparing to make a turn, and asked, Boss, are we heading back to the company now? Suddenly, bang, a box truck slammed violently into the right side of the Audi. Bang, a massive crash echoed. The immense force knocked the Audi sedan off the road and onto the sidewalk, where it wedged against the utility pole. Inside the car, Ethan instinctively wrapped his arms tightly around Grace, pulling her into his chest. But the violent impact still tossed them around the cabin. Thankfully, their seat belts held, preventing them from being thrown out. When Ethan regained his senses, Grace was clutching her head, groaning in pain. He let out a breath of relief inwardly. She was alive. Grace, are you okay? Ethan asked with concern. I'm fine. What about you? Are you hurt? Grace anxiously patted his arms and legs, checking if he was missing any parts. I'm fine too. Let's get out and see what happened. Ethan said gravely. In the driver's seat, Duke Drake warily pulled a collapsible batten from the center console, tucked it behind his back, and whispered, Boss, you guys okay? We're good. Let's assess the situation first, Ethan whispered back. He opened the door, noticing the right side was nearly caved in. The box truck's front end was crumpled. This was a serious crash. If he hadn't been wearing a seatbelt in the back, he would be dead or crippled. At that moment, the driver of the box truck got out. It was a middle-aged man with messy hair. Oh man, I am so sorry. I wasn't paying attention, the man said, walking forward with a grin. Ethan noticed he was wearing heavy-duty work gloves. He frowned. Go, Grace. Get into Dan's car. What's wrong? Grace asked, confused. Listen to me. Ethan's voice dropped lower as he pushed her away. Duke also sensed something was wrong. There were no other cars nearby and no pedestrians. This was a perfect ambush spot. Boss, this feels off, Duke whispered. As soon as he spoke, the rear door of the box truck flew open. Young men wearing work gloves jumped out one by one, wielding machetes, bats, and pipes. It's an ambush. Boss, look out, Duke shouted. Fuck, kill that guy Ford. The group of thugs charged aggressively with their weapons. Boss, run. I'll hold him off. Duke extended his baton, his face grim. Ethan grabbed Grace and ran towards Dan Drake's car. Dan arrived just in time, pulled out his baton, and jumped out to help Duke. Tank, you drive them and get out of here. I'm going to help Duke. Done? That's an order. Ethan instructed. Although the Drake brothers were his bodyguards, he treated them like brothers. He couldn't leave them behind to flee alone. Ethan, no. Grace grabbed his hand, her face pale. She knew the situation was extremely dangerous and didn't want to see Ethan in harm's way. Ethan, I'm going with you. Tank shouted anxiously. Fuck, cut the crap. Ethan glared at him and cursed. Tank gritted his teeth, pulled Grace into the car, jumped into the driver's seat, and sped off. He knew leaving the two women there was the most dangerous thing. It could put Grace and Chloe in extreme peril. He understood Ethan's intent and had to follow orders. In those split seconds, Duke and Dan had already engaged the group of thugs. Fighting while retreating, taking on 10 men each, they remained composed. Ethan lifted a trash can from the sidewalk and hurled it at the thugs. Bang! The trash can hit 2 of them, knocking them down and scattering foul-smelling garbage everywhere. The trash can momentarily obstructed the group, giving the Drake brothers a chance to disengage. Duke, Dan, run this way, Ethan shouted, alerting the brothers. Knowing they couldn't fight so many head-on, the Drake brothers turned and sprinted towards Ethan. Fuck! Kill Ford for me, someone in the crowd shouted, chasing after Ethan. Ethan led the Drake brothers in a desperate sprint, with over 20 men chasing them relentlessly. People on the street saw the scene and scattered in fear, daring not to get involved. Ethan knew the nearby tenements well. He led the brothers into the narrow alleys of the old district, where the paths were tight, intersections numerous, and the environment complex, better for escaping. Along the way, Duke knocked over obstacles like drying racks and buckets to hinder the pursuers. Before long, they opened up a gap. Ethan and the brothers turned a corner and ducked into an underground gambling den. Inside the den, Ethan ran straight to the back of the house. There was a rear door leading to another alley. Here, Ethan signaled, and the Drake brothers followed. The 3 exited into another alley. The shouting behind them had faded. They finally let out a heavy sigh of relief. Ethan's legs went soft, and he sat on a doorstep, gasping for air, feeling like his lungs were burning. Duke and Dan had better stamina and weren't as ragged as Ethan. They looked vigilantly up and down the alley. Boss, we were definitely targeted, Dan said grimly. Ethan took 2 deep breaths and said coldly, yeah, they came prepared. Someone wants my life. On the other side, having lost their target, the thugs cursed in rage. A young man in a baseball cap shouted, fuck, the kid got away. Search, dig him out. Wolfie, call from Baz, a blond guy handed over a phone. The cap-wearing youth, Wolfie, took the phone quickly and laughed nervously. Be Baz. Barry Baz Mitchell's gloomy voice came through. Wolfie, how did it go? Is he dead? Wolfie hesitated, looking grim. He whispered, Be Baz, we had Ford cornered, but that kid is slippery. He got away again. Fuck, what did you say? Got away. Fuck you. How could you let him get away? Baz cursed violently. Wolfie looked terrible, not daring to speak. He had been tailing Ethan for days, waiting for this chance. He didn't expect the car crash to fail to injure or kill him. Normally, anyone in the back seat without a seatbelt would have flown out. Missing the hit was bad enough, but letting him escape? He was going to get chewed out when he got back. Where are you guys now? Baz asked. Baz, we're at the south side, Wolfie whispered. Fuck, get your asses back here now. He ran, so don't just stand there waiting to get arrested. Baz yelled. Yes, yes. Wolfie nodded repeatedly. Hanging up, he waved his hand and shouted, Brothers, pull back. The 20-plus men scurried out of the alleyways. On the other end of the line, Barry Mitchell smashed his phone onto the ground. Smash! The phone shattered into pieces. Motherfucker. A bunch of useless trash who only know how to chase skirts. Good for nothing, but screwing up real work. Fuck. Baz kicked a chair across the room in anger. In the room, the others didn't dare make a sound, afraid Baz would turn his rage on them. Baz paced back and forth, his face ugly. He had wanted to handle this beautifully to prove his capability to the boss, Ray Young. To prove he could hold the dragon head cane. Now that he botched it, it was truly embarrassing. The door opened, and a young man whispered, Baz, the boss is here. Barry Baz. Mitchell glanced at the others in the room and said viciously, Don't talk nonsense later, understand? He didn't want Ray Young to know about this. It was too embarrassing. If Ray found out, a lecture was inevitable. Yes, Baz. The minions shut their mouths. Baz went to the door to welcome him. Ray Young arrived in a wheelchair. Baz, everything okay with the clubs lately? Ray Young coughed twice, looking tired and haggard. Don't worry, boss. No problems at all. Baz smiled. Oh, really? I heard Wolfie wasn't watching the floor today. Ray asked suspiciously. Oh, I sent Wolfie back to Thunder Bay to pick up some goods to sell. Baz replied quickly. Ray said, oh, rubbing his brow. I thought something happened at the club. Lately, I've been feeling uneasy. Baz laughed dryly. Hey, boss, you need a rest. Don't worry, I'll handle everything else. Ray nodded. By the way, arrange some in and get ready. The opportunity is here. He tapped the armrest, his voice turning vicious. This time, it's a chance to take out Victor Vane. Night, West Ford Group. Ethan Ford stood in front of the massive floor-to-ceiling window, smoking a cigarette, his expression grim. Duke Drake opened the door. Boss, Victor is here. Hurried footsteps followed. Ethan, are you okay? Victor the Reaper. Vane walked in quickly, asking in a low voice. Behind Victor was a group of men, including Camel and Big Ed. Ethan turned around and shook his head. I'm Fina. It's just. Grace was a bit shaken. I finally managed to calm her down. Having gone through this, Grace was truly frightened. Even though she was usually bold, facing such a dangerous situation had rattled her. Who did it? Victor asked darkly. Ethan handed him a cigarette and said calmly, Thunder Bay. Police investigation this afternoon said the car was a stolen vehicle from Thunder Bay, but they haven't caught anyone yet. Victor lit the cigarette, standing shoulder to shoulder with Ethan. After a moment of silence, he said, the Thunder Bay crew are like rats. Relying on the police to catch them is hard. Ethan sneered coldly. I'm not counting on the police to catch them. Even if they did, so what? Some things need to be resolved by us. Victor blew a smoke ring. Ethan, say the word. How we do this? It's time for a reckoning between us and Thunder Bay. A cold light flashed in Ethan's eyes. No more waiting. I want to dig those rats out. Since they won't show their tails, we'll go find them. Victor, this time, I want them to pay a painful price. He didn't fear danger himself, but he would never let Grace be in danger. The Thunder Bay crew had crossed his bottom line, his reverse scale. Victor looked at him and smiled. Ethan, I'll support you fully. In that case, let's make a big move. They want to fight? Then we'll give them a bloodbath. With that, Victor turned to Camel and the others. Camel, Ed, send everyone out. If anyone finds the location of a single Thunder Bay member, I'll reward them $10,000. Even if they are rats, dig them out for me. Camel grinned viciously and bowed. You got it, Victor. We'll give the order now. Camel and the others walked out of the office, where over a dozen brothers were waiting. He raised his arm and shouted, Boys, time to go to work. Yes. The group shouted in unison, following Camel out. Ethan turned back. Duke Drake said deeply, Duke, gather the boys from the security company. Time to go to work. Also send Wes in. I have a job for him. Duke cracked his knuckles and grinned. You got it, boss. Duke walked out. A moment later, Wes Sterling walked in. Boss, what are the orders? Wes bowed slightly. Ethan said coldly, Wes, go find Lenny Lawson. It's time for him to do some work. I want to see his performance this time. Wes nodded. Yes, boss. With that, Wes turned and left. Outside the door, he put on his tactical gear and grabbed a dagger. This time, it would be blood. Dan Drake was wiping his dagger at the door. He whispered, Wes, I'll wait for you to come back for a drink. Wes smiled slightly and nodded. In the office, only Ethan and Victor remained. The two smoked, looking out at the bustling night view, saying nothing. In the neon-lit city, dark currents were already surging wildly. 11:00 p.m. The Metro District My Hero Pool Hall. Smoke filled the air as young men played pool, laughing and joking. Two tattooed youths stood at the door, chatting in the Thunder Bay dialect. That chick last night was wild. Drained me 3 times, my legs almost went soft. Huh, damn, sounds good. When are you going to introduce me? I'll mang, no problem. Next time, I'll let you have a taste. Just then, a man in a black jacket came over to settle his bill, glancing at the two. Punk, what the fuck you looking at? A blonde youth glared at him sideways. The black-jacketed man said nothing, paid, and walked out. TCH, fuck your mother. The blonde youth cursed again. 3 minutes later, dense footsteps echoed from the stairwell at the entrance. A group of youths in black coats burst in, over a dozen of them. Seeing so many people, the blonde youth paused and asked, Hey, what are you doing? Here to play pool. Play your mother. From the crowd of black coats, Big Ed stepped out and slapped him across the face. The slap stunned the blonde youth on the spot. Big Ed grinned viciously. Thunder Bay rat, finally caught you, huh? Smash it up. The men behind Big Ed swarmed in, smashing the pool hall to pieces. Why you, who are you? Do you know who my boss is? Fuck, the blonde shouted, trying to look tough. I don't know, but you definitely do, right? Big Ed grabbed him by the collar and lifted him into the air. You're definitely going to tell me, aren't you? Big Ed pulled out a machete with his other hand, and the brothers behind him drew their shining blades. The Metro District, Liwu Tenements. Lenny Lawson and Leo Lawson moved through the alleys with over 30 men. Before long, they arrived in front of an arcade. Lenny threw his cigarette down, crushed it with his foot, and said, hiding pretty deep, Wes, this is the place. Wes Sterling, wearing black tactical gear and slash-proof gloves, stepped out of the crowd and stood at the arcade entrance. He looked at the arcade sign, pulled out the dagger at his waist, and walked in silently. Lenny waved his hand, and the 30-plus men flooded in after him. Bang, bang, bang. Seven. Nobody fucking move. Nobody leaves. Smashing sounds, cries of pain, the sound of breaking bones, and fierce fighting noises erupted from within the arcade. Whitestone District, Hartfield Village, the Royal Inn. 8 vans stopped at the motel entrance. Camel stepped out of van, holding a phone. Yeah, I know. I'm here. Camel hung up. Wave after wave of men stepped out of the vans behind him, including the security personnel led by Duke Drake. This is the spot, Big, Ed mentioned. Camel pointed at the motel with a vicious grin. Duke nodded. We go up first. Team 1, Team 2, follow me. Team 3 waits below. Don't let a single one escape. Duke waved his hand. Behind him, the fully equipped security guards, wearing helmets, tactical uniforms, and tactical gloves, lined up immediately and marched towards the building. Hee, don't rush, wait for me. Camel laughed ruthlessly, took a machete from a minion, and followed with a swagger. Under the streetlights, a mass of black-clad figures surged into the Royal Inn, the machetes in their hands gleaming coldly. 2 a.m., the Metro District, Faye's Massage Parlor. Wolfie pulled up his pants, zipped his fly, and tossed a $100 bill on the bed. The beautiful woman on the bed picked up the cash happily and cooed. Thanks, Wolfie. Wolfie turned back and pinched her cheek, grinning. Baby, wait for me to come find you next time. Remember to come back. Wolfie. The woman smiled charmingly, her eyes like hooks capturing the soul. Hee for sure. Once I'm done with business, I'll book you for 3 days and nights. Wolfie laughed lewdly. He opened the door and walked out to the massage parlor lobby. A dozen minions were drinking or playing cards, the air thick with smoke. Hey, Wolfie, you done? A short, chubby youth greeted him with a wink. Save some energy. Still got work to do, or else you won't see me tonight. Wolfie boasted proudly. Wolfie, you're the man. The chubby youth gave a thumbs up, flattering him. So, any word from Baz? What's the plan? When can we head out? Wolfie asked. The chubby youth whispered. Baz ordered us to lie low for a while. The cops are investigating. We head out next week. Next week? What's the big deal? We didn't leave any evidence. Why fear the cops? Wolfie complained. The chubby youth laughed dryly, daring not to reply. Just then, the roar of engines came from outside the shutter door. What's going on? It's the middle of the night, so loud. Wolfie said irritably. Fatty, go check it out. The chubby youth responded, ran to the shutters, opened a slit, and looked out through the glass door. But outside, only the lonely streetlight shone. He couldn't see any cars, only hear the engines roaring from both sides. What's the situation? The chubby youth wondered aloud. Suddenly, black figures surged from both sides of the road, dense and countless. These people held various weapons, machetes, bats, chains, and crowbars. Holy shit! The chubby youth turned pale with fright, his legs went soft, and he fell to the ground. Fuck, Fatty, what's wrong with you? Making a fuss over nothing. Did you see a ghost? Wolfie cursed loudly. The chubby youth stammered, WW Wolfie. People, so many people. There are so many people outside. As soon as the words fell, bang, bang, bang. Huge banging sounds accompanied by the shattering of the glass door rang out. The noise startled everyone inside. They jumped up, grabbed their weapons, and went on alert. Snap! The lock on the shutter door was cut. Rattle! The shutter was pulled up, and a mass of black figures gradually appeared before Wolfie and his crew. Holy shit! Seeing the countless people, Wolfie's heart sank. This was bad. The other minions were terrified, their faces losing color, hands and legs trembling. Because the disparity in strength was too vast. Just the people crowding the entrance numbered over 100, and behind them were countless more heads. Wolfie swallowed hard, feeling like something terrible was about to happen. At that moment, a group of men in black uniforms walked out from the crowd, led by a cold youth. The youth was stained with undried blood, looking like a cold god of death. Wolfie saw their gear, tactical uniforms, tactical gloves, helmets, all complete. Damn, it looked like a regular army. He felt like he was falling into an abyss, the hair on his body standing on end. Who is Wolfie? Wes Sterling pulled out his bloody dagger, scanned the dozen people in the room, and asked calmly. No one dared to speak, but a few involuntarily turned their heads to look at Wolfie. Fuck you, W. Who are you? What do you want? Do you know who we work for? Wolfie shouted in the Thunder Bay dialect, trying to look tough. Wes said coldly, I know. You're exactly who I'm looking for. Camel walked out with his hands in his pockets, grinning viciously. You better fucking hand over that old bastard Ray Young, or else prepare to sink into the river. Fuck. Wolfie grabbed a stool, threw it, and turned to run. If he didn't run, only death awaited. Wes kicked the chair to pieces. Death wish. The West Ford security personnel and Camel's men swarmed in. Over 100 people crowded into the 100 square meter space, creating a chaotic brawl of flashing blades. Wes ignored the others and chased straight after Wolfie. Wolfie ran for his life, using every ounce of strength. But having just spent his energy on a woman, he was out of breath before running far. Hearing the commotion, the beautiful woman opened her door. Seeing the terrifying scene, she screamed. Wolfie grabbed her from the room and shoved her towards the pursuing Wes. Wes didn't even catch her. He kicked the woman aside and sprinted forward. Thud! Wolfie felt a sharp pain in the back of his head. The immense force knocked him to the ground, dizzy and disoriented. Bro, don't kill me. Wolfie felt the back of his head wet with blood, begging on his knees. He was truly afraid of dying. Wes kicked him down, subdued him with his standard grappling hold, pinned him to the floor, and pressed the dagger against his neck. If you knew this would happen, why did you act in the first place? Now, your life no longer belongs to you. On the other side, inside the Metro Hotel, Ray Young was woken from his sleep by a phone call. Ray pushed himself up with difficulty and answered, "Hello, what is it?" "Boss, something happened." A moment later, Ray's eyes bulged with rage. "What? The clubs were raided? Fuck." He hung up the phone, his face grim. He knew something bad had definitely happened. I'll wait. Ray shouted. "I'll be boss. What are your orders?" The door opened, and a man walked in. "Notify Baz and the others. We leave now. Fast. Also, tell everyone at the clubs to evacuate. Hurry." Ray raged. For hours later, dawn broke. A ray of golden light pierced the night, falling upon the silent city of Chicago. The whole city seemed to slowly awaken with this golden light. Inside West 4 Group, Ethan and Victor sat in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, drinking coffee. The ashtray on the table was already full of cigarette butts. Ethan turned to look out the window and said calmly, "It should be over." Victor shook his head. "The Thunder Bay crew are rats. It might not end this quickly. At least, there should be some harvest." Ethan finally revealed a smile. Knock, knock, knock. A knock at the door, then Dan Drake opened the office door. "Boss, Wes, Camel, and the others are back." Immediately, Wes Sterling, Duke Drake, and Camel walked quickly into the office. "Huh, Victor, Mr. Ford, we caught that Wolfie guy." Camel laughed loudly, his black jacket stained with blood. Wes bowed slightly. "Boss, the man is in the parking lot. How should we handle him?" Ethan stood up, walked over, handed cigarettes to the men, and patted Wes on the shoulder. "Thanks for your hard work. Just doing my job." Wes grinned. Ethan smiled. "Leave the man to Camel to handle. He's good at it." No problem. I certainly am." Camel laughed, feeling very happy to be acknowledged. Victor stood up and asked, "What about that old ghost Ray Young? Did you catch him?" Camel shook his head, regretting. "When we got to the Metro Hotel, we didn't see a soul. But from the scene, it looked like they had just run." Ethan said coldly, "Now he's really become a rat. But as long as he's still in Chicago, we'll catch him sooner or later." Noon. Lawson Finance Company. Leo Lawson lay in his boss's chair, eyes closed, resting. After working all night, he was exhausted. The door opened, and Lenny Lawson walked in, grinning triumphantly. "Bro, old dog Zhao just sent us a gift." Old dog Zhao was another loan shark they often did business with, sometimes collaborating, sometimes competing, always looking down on each other. "Sent us a gift?" Leo opened his eyes, which were bloodshot. "Yeah, he sent a fruit basket and called me personally, wanted to invite us to dinner." Lenny laughed. "That old dog Zhao has a quick mind and fast news," Leo sneered disdainfully. Surely the news of them dealing with Thunder Bay last night had spread, and Zhao rushed over to curry favor the moment he heard. Lenny smoked a cigarette and laughed. Bro, knowing we were the ones who made the move last night, that old dog was so scared he almost called me big brother." Leo glared at him and cursed. "Fuck, do you really think you're hot shit? What the hell are you thinking?" Lenny was stunned by the scolding, confused. Leo sat up, stared at him, and said, "Old dog Zhao is afraid of the people behind us. Everyone knows. Could we take down Thunder Bay by ourselves? Think with your toes. He's afraid of West 4 Group of Mr. Ford. He's giving face to Mr. Ford. What does it have to do with you?" Lenny finally realized, smiling sheepishly. "Yeah, bro, I get it. I'll keep a low profile. His smugness was instantly extinguished. Leo huffed. "Brother, when we do things in the future, remember to be cautious. Before, what you did only represented yourself. Now it's different. Before you act, think about Mr. Ford. If you get into trouble, how do you think Mr. Ford will deal with you? Thunder Bay is the example." Thinking of this, Lenny felt like a bucket of cold water had been poured over him, instantly sobering him up. After working for Mr. For last night, his reputation was out, but similarly, in the eyes of others, he also represented Mr. Ford. West Ford Group had immense wealth and power, and was extremely close to Victor Vane. Now that Thunder Bay was broken, the entire city of Chicago had to watch Mr. Ford's expression. With Mr. Ford covering them, they were naturally as steady as Mount Tai. But if they displeased Mr. Ford, they could be removed at any time. Yes, yes, big brother, I understand. Lenny nodded repeatedly. Leo took out a cigarette, lit it, and mused for a moment. I'm thinking, maybe we should stop the loan sharking. Let's just follow Mr. Ford completely. It makes way more money than loans. Oh, bro, let go of it all. Lenny was a bit reluctant. Listen to me. Leo glared at him and made the decision. Late at night, Ethan returned to the Mill residential compound. His parents were asleep, so he quietly called Grace. Just back from work, he was a bit hungry and wanted Grace's noodles. A moment later, the door opened. Grace appeared in her pajamas, her long black hair cascading over her shoulders, her figure slender and inviting. The dummy finally decided to come back. Grace pouted. Just finished up. Grace, I'm hungry. Got anything to eat? How about you make me some noodles? Ethan looked expectant. Huh? What? What are you saying? Honestly, Grace blushed, glaring at him. Ethan paused, grinning mischievously. I said noodles. What did you think I said? Huh? Well, I meant noodles too. Grace argued stubbornly. All right, I got it. Can you make noodles for me? Ethan asked with a smile. Starvey, come in. I'll cook for you. Grace quickly changed her phrasing. Inside, Ethan sat at the dining table, waiting for Grace to cook. Not long after, Grace brought out a steaming bowl of egg noodles and placed it in front of him. Eat up, dummy. Careful, it's hot, Grace reminded him. Okay, let me taste if your skills have improved. Ethan laughed, picking up a chopstick full of noodles, blowing on them, and slurping them into his mouth. Grace watched him expectantly, waiting for his evaluation. She might not know how to cook many dishes, but when it came to noodles, she felt she was practiced. She had optimized every step. It should be better than before, right? Seeing Ethan tasting carefully without speaking, she felt like a cat was scratching at her heart. Hey, dummy, say something. How is it? She couldn't help but urge. Ethan pinched her nose and laughed. Delicious. Very delicious. You've improved. Really? You're not just humoring me? She asked joyfully. It felt like the first time she had received such high praise after making it so many times. Of course. The texture is just right. Seems you mastered the heat perfectly, Ethan praised, but there's still a tiny bit of room for improvement in the seasoning. Just a tiny bit less salt. Next time I'll make it for you again to demonstrate. She nodded happily. Okay. Ethan asked casually, so, do you like them softer or harder? Grace tapped her chin, thinking, I prefer them harder. Oh, I get it. Ethan drawled, laughing wickedly. Grace seemed to realize the ambiguity in an instant, pinching the soft flesh at his waist, annoyed and shy. Dummy, you're such a big villain. Ethan chuckled. Men aren't bad. Women don't love them, right? But, Grace, your mind works pretty fast. Huh. After so much development, Grace was familiar with the drilling project talk. She wasn't as innocent as before. Grace blushed and snatched the bowl away. Humph. Hateful. Then I won't let you eat. Ethan put on a pitiful look. Little Grace, I'm hungry. Grace couldn't stand it. Her heart softened, and she returned the noodles to him. Eat, look how thin you've gotten. Ethan snickered. You still care about me. Little Grace, pass me some soy sauce while you're at it. Grace. Okay, now you dare to order me around? Though she said that, she still got up to get the soy sauce for Ethan. Adding some soy sauce for a savory kick, Ethan ate happily. She rested her chin in her hands, eyes smiling into crescents, quietly watching him eat. At this moment, in her eyes, he was the whole world. This moment felt very peaceful and beautiful. Life should be like this, shouldn't it? Work during the day, eat with the person you like at night, wash dishes together, walk together, chat together. Simple and plain as true. Chin in hands, she suddenly whispered, Ethan, let's get married. Married? Ethan stuffed a mouthful of noodles, looking at her in astonishment. He wasn't surprised by the idea of marriage itself, but by the fact that she had previously considered waiting until after her junior year internship. Now, she was suddenly proposing it. Grace, have you thought this through? Ethan swallowed the noodles, asking joyfully. Grace nodded seriously. I've thought about it. Actually, getting married earlier is good too, because... She didn't finish the sentence. Ethan asked curiously, because what? Grace moved closer, hugging him and burying her head in his neck. Because I'm afraid of losing you. After the car accident, She felt increasingly uneasy. She didn't say it, but she was more worried than anyone. She feared such events, and even more, she feared something happening to Ethan. Because, I'm afraid you'll leave me, she added. This leave wasn't about the heart, but about the person. Ethan's heart shook, and his nose tingled. Fighting back the tears in his eyes, he gently stroked her hair and whispered, "Is it because of what happened?" "Yeah." Grace nodded. A strong sense of guilt welled up in Ethan. He sighed. "I'm sorry, Grace. I made you worry." Grace sat up straight, beaming a smile. "So, Ethan, let's get married." Ethan rubbed her head and laughed. "Okay, let's get married. Whenever you want." Grace said happily, Then let's do it at the end of this year. That gives us plenty of time to prepare properly." Ethan pulled her into his arms and smiled. "Okay, whenever you say." Grace nuzzled in his arms, trying to find a more comfortable position. Ethan, what's in your pocket? It's poking me. What do you think?" Ethan, you big pervert." "Oh, Grace, you pinched me again. You started it." Didn't you say you were a gentleman who stays calm?" "Did I? What did I say that? I absolutely never said that." "Ethan, your skin is thicker than a city wall. Ahaha, don't tickle me." While the two were playing around at the dining table, footsteps approached. "Ethan, Grace, what are you doing?" Lily Miller looked at the two in shock. At that moment, Ethan's hands were on Grace's waist, and she was pinching Ethan's nostrils. They froze in that position. For days later, evening, Victor Vane's home. "Pop, happy birthday, Victor." Confetti rained down as everyone applauded and cheered. Amidst the cheers, Victor the Reaper Vane wore a birthday hat. His son Timmy perched on his shoulders, laughing heartily. "Daddy, I want to blow out the candles too." Timmy looked at his father with big, innocent eyes. "Haha, okay." Victor pinched his cheek affectionately, his eyes full of love. "Ethan, take a picture of us father and son." Ethan nodded and smiled. "Sure, Victor." Vanessa Vane handed a Polaroid camera to Ethan. Ethan stood behind the cake, squatting slightly. "I'll say 3, 2, 1, and you blow the candles together, okay?" "Okay." Victor laughed happily. Through the viewfinder, Ethan saw father and son lean in, take a deep breath, and prepare to blow. 3, 2, 1, go. Click. Victor and his son blew out the candles together, their puckered lips captured in a cute moment. After pressing the shutter, the photo printed out quickly. It started faint, but soon became clear. "Victor, look, you two are perfectly in sync." "Huh, your expression is hilarious." Ethan handed him the photo, teasing. Victor saw the fish lips on both father and son in the photo and laughed, the crow's feet around his eyes crinkling with joy. "This is a good one. I'll frame it later. Something to look at when I'm old, ha." Victor laughed loudly. "Bro, it's your birthday. What's with the talk of getting old? You're forever young." Valerie Vane rolled her eyes at him. "I'm 38 this year. You think your brother is still as young as Henry?" Victor laughed. Henry Payne held Valerie's hand next to him, scratching his head shyly. "Victor, happy birthday." Victor teased, "Silly boy. Change how you address me soon." Ethan nudged Henry's arm and laughed. "Henry, are you dense? Hurry up and call him brother-in-law." "Huh? All right. Happy birthday, brother-in-law." Henry realized and shouted. Ooh, the room erupted in hooting. Valerie blushed, but hugged Henry's arm openly. Vanessa thoughtfully handed Victor a plastic knife to cut the cake, speaking gently. "All right, hurry up and cut your cake." Looking at his gentle and virtuous wife, Victor grinned foolishly and took the knife. "Okay, thanks for cooking so much today, wifey. It's your birthday." "No trouble at all," Vanessa smiled. Victor felt warm inside. For so many years, Vanessa had silently given everything for the family. Her gentle nature, never asking for anything, living frugally, and taking good care of the home. She was his harbor after a weary day. In this life, he felt he owed her. "When I'm less busy, I'll take you on a trip. Maybe to Florida or Hawaii." Victor smiled. Okay. Let's talk when you're not busy," Vanessa laughed, covering her mouth. Victor smiled, then held Timmy's hand to cut the cake together, distributing pieces to the elders first. When it was Ethan's turn, Victor cut a large piece, put on a plate, and instructed Timmy. "Son, give the cake to your Uncle Ethan. He spoils you the most and buys you the best toys. You remember to be good to him." Timmy nodded, took the cake, and trotted over to Ethan. "Uncle Ethan, eat cake." "Uh-huh. Thanks, Timmy is such a good boy." Ethan took the cake and patted his head. Victor held his own cake and signaled Ethan with his eyes to go to the balcony. The two stood on the balcony, eating cake in big bites. "Ethan, you said a couple of days ago you plan to get married this year? End of the year? Is it for real first?" Victor asked with a smile. "Truer than true, Victor. Get your red envelope ready. Ethan teased. Victor glared. My envelope has been ready for ages. A big fat one, just waiting for your wedding banquet. Would my envelope be anything less than spectacular? Ethan snickered. Hey, as long as it's ready. Wait for my notice. Victor glanced inside the room, put down his cake, put his arm around Ethan's shoulder, and whispered, Ethan, while you're not married yet, tonight I'm taking you to a good place. What good place? Ethan asked curiously. Victor smiled mysteriously, raising an eyebrow. You'll know when we get there tonight. Absolutely fun, absolutely happy. Nightfall. The entrance to the Grand Oasis Club. 2 golden pillars stood tall, luxurious, and imposing, like a palace. A young man in a suit and dress pants squatted in a corner near the main gate, sneaking a cigarette. The only relaxation in his shift. Packy, are you slacking off again? A middle-aged man walked up behind him, hand behind his back, face stern. Paul Packy Bennett turned around to see his direct supervisor, the security chief, Lyle. He quickly stood up, pulled another pack of cigarettes, Parliament, from his pocket, and offered one. He piled on a smile. Chief Lyle, come, have a Parliament. My legs were numb from standing, just stretching them out. Seeing the Parliaments, Lyle's stern face relaxed. He took it and said, all right, standing guard is tough, but once you've rested, get back to your post immediately, understand? Packy grinned. Yes, I absolutely obey the chief's orders. Lyle finally smiled. You kid, you've got a smooth mouth. 1 cigarette and 1 sentence had made the boss comfortable. Come on, Chief. Not many guests right now. Let's have a smoke first. Packy hadn't finished his own cigarette and wanted to rest more, so he took out his lighter and lit Lyle's cigarette. Lyle enjoyed being flattered, so he naturally accepted the light, adding, Parliaments are good smokes. Packy, you know how to enjoy life. Packy dared not smoke such expensive cigarettes himself. He bought them just a handout. He gave away at least 2 packs a month. Though it hurt his wallet, it helped him thrive in the security department, building good relations with colleagues and superiors. Oh, it's thanks to you looking out for me, Chief. If not for you, I wouldn't have transferred to this new venue to earn more cash, Packy flattered. By the way, this place is so luxurious. Must have cost a lot, right? Lyle smiled. Over $1.5 million. This is the biggest venue Victor has opened. Holy shit, Victor is amazing. Too awesome, Packy said with immense admiration. Lyle patted his shoulder and laughed. What did you expect? Victor is the emperor of the Chicago Underground. Who dares to provoke him? Following Victor, you can't go wrong. As they smoked, a convoy of black sedans approached from the distance. Over a dozen cars, including Toyotas, Audis, and Hondas. Holy shit, Victor is here. Lyle recognized one of the Toyota sedans and exclaimed in shock. He quickly threw down his cigarette, pulling Packy back to the main gate to welcome them. The security team at the door stepped forward. Packy stood among them, looking at the black Toyota with eyes full of worship. Victor Vane stepped out of the Toyota, followed by a young man with a handsome face. The two stood side by side, talking and laughing. Hello, Mr. Vane. Lyle led the group in bowing slightly. Victor nodded to them, then continued chatting with the young man. Packy watched curiously. Who was that young man? To walk side by side with Victor, they were both young, yet that man had such status. Honestly, he was very envious. After Victor walked away, he whispered curiously to Lyle. Chief, who's the young guy next to Victor? He looks pretty impressive. Lyle said enviously. Damn right, that's Mr. Ford of West Ford Group. Of course he's impressive. Huh? West Ford Group. Mr. Ford. Packy hadn't heard of it and felt surprised. But being the boss of a group company at such a young age was indeed shocking. Lyle smacked him on the forehead and whispered, Packy, watch your mouth when you see Mr. Ford in the future. Mr. Ford and Victor have a special relationship. Stop envying and do your job. Just then, Camel and Big Ed led a group of people behind them. As they passed, Lyle quickly piled on smiles and greeted them. Mr. Camel, Mr. Id. Camel glanced at him and smiled. Lyle, you transferred to the new spot? Nice. Work hard. Yes, Mr. Camel. Lyle responded excitedly. Just getting a word from Camel felt very honorable. After Camel's group left, a middle-aged man in a floral shirt walked over. Lyle, things aren't peaceful lately. Make sure security is tight. Lyle recognized the man and immediately replied, Yes, Mark. Don't worry. I'll have the brothers on 110% alert. The man, Mark Wells, was one of Victor's brothers, recently in charge of Victor's personal protection. Mark nodded. Just listen to my arrangements when the time comes. Don't just watch one spot, understand? Yes, we'll follow your arrangements, Mark. Lyle nodded repeatedly. Mark nodded, then turned and entered the Grand Oasis. Inside the Grand Oasis Club, it was resplendent and extremely luxurious, with 7 floors total, featuring baths, saunas, massages, and entertainment facilities. At this moment, in the luxury bath area on the 7th floor, Victor, Ethan, and Henry Payne were soaking in the pool. Hee hee, Ethan, what do you think? Nice place, right? Victor laughed proudly. It is indeed a nice place. Ethan twitched his lips as he watched female servers in short skirts walking around the pool area. He had to admit, Victor had quite the insight into the entertainment business. Just this aspect had the male psyche pinned down perfectly. Female servers in a male bath area. Usually only found in sleazy joints, but here, in a non-sleazy place, it was even more effective. I spent over $1.5 million to set this place up. It's the biggest bath center in Chicago. Do you think I can earn it back? Victor tested Ethan. A business you have your eye on, Victor? How can not make money? With this scale, making it back in 3 years won't be a problem. Ethan smiled lightly. This kind of place was suitable for bringing business clients. Making money would be easy. He had seen it before. Haha, Ethan, you truly have a boss's eye. Indeed, about 3 years. Victor laughed. Henry, do you like this place? Victor suddenly asked Henry. It's nice, but Valerie probably wouldn't like me coming here, Henry admitted. This was indeed a place for men to enjoy themselves. Victor smiled. She'll like it later. I plan to give this place to you too. Huh? Victor, give it to us? Henry was shocked. This was $1 million venue. A golden goose that lays golden eggs, given away, just like that. Ethan was also surprised. Victor really was a sister-spoiling maniac. Truly generous. Victor nodded and smiled. Yes, although you can earn good money with this place, your life will be much better. I hope you two can live happily ever after without worrying about money. This is the only thing I can do as a brother-in-law. Henry was moved. He hesitated for a moment, then said gratefully, Thank you, Victor. He couldn't refuse on Valerie's behalf, and he understood it was Victor's goodwill. He could only be grateful. We're all family, what's with the thanks? Haha, right, Ethan? Victor laughed heartily. Ethan nodded and smiled. Henry, just accept what your brother-in-law gives you. Henry chuckled and scratched his head. At this moment, Mark Wells walked over and smiled at Victor. Victor, should we prepare the sauna room now? Haha, no ruse. Mark, want to jump in and soak? Victor waved and laughed. No thanks, Victor. I have to take the brothers to patrol the other floors. You guys enjoy, Mark said respectfully. With that, Mark turned and left, his expression gradually darkening. After soaking in the hot pool for the better part of an hour, the 3 men changed into sauna suits and headed for the steam room. Inside, the steam was thick and suffocating, like a giant pressure cooker forcing the sweat from their pores. Ethan Ford and Victor, the Reaper, Vane seemed accustomed to the intense heat, finding it relaxing. But Henry Payne was already slumped in his chair, gasping for air. It was his first time, and he wasn't handling it well. Seeing his state, Ethan chuckled. Haha, Henry, tapping out already? Henry managed an awkward smile. Ethan, it's my first time. Just give me a minute to get used to it. Calm your mind, Ethan advised. Sit still, breathe slowly, and just enjoy the sensation of sweating. It'll feel much better. The key to a sauna was not to gasp for air, but to control one's breathing and relax. Henry followed Ethan's advice, sitting up and regulating his breath. Sure enough, the discomfort faded, replaced by a warm, soothing sensation as the sweat poured off him. Victor laughed. That's the way, Henry. Learn from Ethan. Once you're out in the world, you need to know a little bit of everything. Otherwise, you'll embarrass yourself when talking business. Got it, Vic, Henry replied with a grin. After the sauna and another soak, they went up to the 7th floor for a massage. The full-service treatment left them all feeling loose and relaxed as they moved to the private lounge for coffee. Inside the lounge, Victor poured cups from a glass carafe for Ethan and Henry. He smiled. Ethan, try this. See if you can tell me what bean this is. Ethan took a sip, raising an eyebrow. Ethiopian Yirgacheffe. Huh, Ethan, you've got a sharp tongue. Victor laughed loudly. Henry took a few gulps, but couldn't tell the difference. He shook his head. Ethan's the expert. I just thought it was regular coffee. Ethan smiled. Regular diner coffee is usually a blend of Robusta and Arabica, often over-roasted. This is a single-origin Arabica, specifically from the Yirgacheffe region. The processing method, the altitude, and the roast profile all affect the flavor. This one has distinct floral and citrus notes, very complex. It has a sweet finish if you savor it. Henry looked a bit lost. He hadn't realized there was so much depth to a cup of joe. Ethan, you're practically a sommelier. Victor asked with a smile. Tasting coffee is like tasting life. So, Ethan, Do you prefer a complex medium roast or a light roast? Ethan paused, contemplating. Actually, I prefer a light blonde roast. It's raw, acidic, and harder to control. The roaster can't hide behind the char. So, you like it unpredictable? Victor pressed. Ethan remained silent, but nodded. Henry listened to their exchange, feeling like they were speaking in code. The words seemed to carry a heavier meaning he couldn't quite grasp. Victor took a sip, but it doesn't have the depth of a medium roast like this one, does it? Ethan shook his head and smiled. Depth is good, but sometimes it gets muddy. I'm not a fan of muddy. Victor turned to Henry. Henry, you like this, right? Henry nodded earnestly. It tastes good, but to be honest, it doesn't matter what kind of coffee it is. I can't really tell. As long as it's wet and I'm thirsty, it works for me. Victor and Ethan laughed almost simultaneously. Henry scratched his head, puzzled. What were they laughing at? Was his answer that funny? He didn't think so. Henry fits the bill, Ethan said, still smiling. Victor nodded. Yeah, he fits. Henry was even more confused. What kind of riddles were they speaking? Suddenly, Victor's phone rang. He answered it, his brow furrowing as he listened. Someone's looking for me. All right, I got it. Wait there. Victor hung up and stood. Old Mark says a friend is downstairs looking for me. I'll go see what it's about. You guys sit tight. I'll be right back. Sure thing, Vic. Go handle your business, Ethan said. Victor opened the door and left the lounge. Henry leaned in toward Ethan. Ethan, what were you guys laughing about earlier? Ethan grinned. Figure it out yourself. Meanwhile, Victor Vane took the elevator down to the lobby. The lobby was empty, eerily quiet. Mark, Victor called out, standing in the center of the hall. There was no answer. Just as suspicion began to rise, a chaotic heavy footsteps erupted from all directions. Bang! Someone kicked open the fire exit doors behind him. Victor spun around. A group of young men in black jackets, red ribbons tied around their wrists, were marching toward him fast. And they were all holding gleaming steel, machetes and pipes. Fuck! Victor Vane, today is your funeral. One of the thugs, a buzz-cut youth, screamed viciously. Victor's heart sank. He scanned the room. People were pouring out from every exit. They were all Thunder Bay crew. Ray Young's men. Damn it, it's an ambush. Where were his security guys? How did Ray's people get in? Countless questions flashed through his mind, but reality didn't allow him time to think. The mob was closing in. Fuck. $1 million to the man who kills Victor Vane. The buzz-cut thug raised his weapon and shouted. The crowd behind him, like wolves scenting blood, went into a frenzy, their eyes locked on Victor. But Victor didn't flinch. Facing nearly 100 enemies, his expression remained stony. You want my life? Come and take it. As the words left his mouth, Victor narrowed his eyes and charged. He closed the distance in 3 strides, landing a devastating punch on the lead thug, then snatched the machete from the guy's grip. Get him! Kill him! The buzz-cut thug roared, swinging his blade. The mob swarmed. Victor withstood the rain of blows, swinging his weapon with wide, brutal arcs, literally carving a bloody path through the crowd. But at the same time, his body was accumulating cuts. Blood was soaking his shirt. Crunch! Victor brought his blade down, lodging it in the thug's shoulder. With a roar, he severed the man's arm. Blood sprayed, dyeing Victor red, making him look like a demon straight out of hell. The sight was so shocking that for a moment, the Thunder Bay goons froze. Victor was covered in countless wounds, yet he seemed to feel no pain. His face was cold, hard iron. He grabbed a fresh machete from the floor and pointed it at the crowd. Come on, come get some. His voice was dripping with icy, murderous intent. The Thunder Bay crowd hesitated, intimidated by Victor's sheer ferocity. Fear crept into their eyes. Was this guy even human? How was he still standing? At that moment, a familiar figure stepped out from the crowd. It was Barry Baz Mitchell. Baz stared coldly at Victor. Victor, today is your birthday. And it's also your death day. $2 million for his head. Under the heavy reward, courage returned to the mob. Motivated by greed, the group raised their weapons and charged again. Victor knew that if he stayed surrounded here, he was finished. He turned and sprinted toward the elevator bank. The hallway was narrow, flanked by large stone statues, only allowing a few men abreast. As he ran, Victor toppled the statues, crushing the legs of the front pursuers and creating a barricade that momentarily jammed the hallway. He reached the elevator and saw it was descending, arriving at the first floor. A smile of relief touched his lips. If he could get on the elevator, he might have a chance. But when the doors opened, Victor's smile froze. Inside the elevator stood a dozen Thunder Bay thugs, holding iron bars and machetes. They looked at him with sneering grins. Victor looked at the massive mob behind him, then at the dozen men in the elevator. Fuck. With a curse, he raised his blade and charged into the elevator. The elevator doors slowly slid shut. Inside the cramped metal box, steel flashed and blood sprayed. The elevator jerked as it began to ascend. Victor Vane bit down on his teeth, swinging his machete mechanically. He had forgotten pain, forgotten reason. He was fighting on pure animal instinct. He was covered in cuts, a man made of blood. In the chaos, a thug stabbed him twice in the stomach. Victor grabbed the guy by the hair with one hand and slashed his throat with the other. Arterial spray painted the walls. In this rain of blood, everyone lost their minds. Fear vanished, replaced by a red haze as they hacked and stabbed at Victor one after another. Victor's eyes were cold ice. He grabbed one of the thugs, using the body as a human shield, blocking blows as he chopped down anyone within reach. The elevator stopped. Ding! The doors to the 7th floor slowly opened, revealing a scene from purgatory. Blood and limbs were everywhere. A dozen men lay in pools of crimson that began to trickle out into the hallway. In the corner of the elevator, Victor sat atop a pile of bodies, leaning against the wall. He was gasping for air, his breath rattling like a broken exhaust fan. Huh. He struggled to stand, stepping over the mountain of corpses to exit, but he collapsed at the threshold. Beep, beep, beep. The elevator doors couldn't close, triggering the obstruction alarm. Beak. Through the haze, Victor heard Henry Payne's voice. Henry, face pale with horror, rushed over and lifted him from the floor. Thunder Bay. Hide. You guys hide. Victor rasped weakly. Vic, you're gonna be okay. You're okay. I'll get you to a hospital. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Henry's mind had snapped. He kept repeating, it's okay, while frantically trying to apply pressure to the gaping wounds in Victor's abdomen. Fuck, calm down. Victor headbutted him gently. The shock snapped Henry back to reality. He scooped Victor up and ran toward the private lounge. Bang! The lounge door flew open. Ethan turned to look and froze. Henry was carrying a blood-soaked Victor. What happened? Thunder Bay's crew is here, Henry shouted as he laid Victor on the floor. He immediately jumped up, locked the door, and pushed the heavy tea table and cabinet against it. It was the optimal choice made in a state of extreme clarity. The enemy was outside. Going out was suicide. Call for help. Ethan snapped out of his shock and dialed immediately. Hello, Mr. Ford. Camel answered on the other end. Thunder Bay hit us. Vic is critical. Get here now. 7th floor lounge. Ethan's voice was low and urgent. What? Camel roared, his voice spiking an octave. Fuck. Don't ask. Just get here. Ethan yelled and hung up. He then called 911 and notified Duke Drake and Wes Sterling. When he turned back, Henry had already emptied the drawers, using towels, napkins, and even tablecloth to try and stop the bleeding. But Victor pushed him away weakly. Don't waste the effort. No, Vic, you're fine. You're gonna make it. Just hold on. The ambulance is coming. Don't sleep. Henry mumbled like a madman, wrapping the wounds. His eyes were red, filled with tears. Henry, calm down. Victor placed a bloody hand on Henry's shoulder. Henry froze, stopping his frantic movements. Ethan, help me up. Victor turned his gaze to Ethan. Ethan rushed over. Together, they propped Victor up against the wall. Victor sat there, looking at the two of them, and suddenly smiled. Good. I got to see you guys one last time. Ethan's eyes reddened, a wave of immense grief crashing over him. Although he and Victor had never formally sworn brotherhood, they were closer than blood. Vic, hang in there. Ethan gritted his teeth. Victor coughed, blood bubbling from his lips, but his expression was calm. I predicted. I knew this day would come. From the moment I stepped into this life, I knew there was no turning back. But, hell, I lived a full life. Ha, cough, ha. He laughed through the blood. His eyes still held that arrogant, unconquerable fire. He grabbed Ethan's hand, breathing heavily. Just a pity for my wife and kid. Ethan, I never asked you for anything. Now, I just hope you can look after them. I don't trust anyone else. I trust you. Ethan gripped his hand tight, nodding vigorously, his voice choking. I promise you. Victor smiled with relief, then took Henry's hand with his other hand. Henry, my good brother-in-law, my business. I leave it to you. I left a will. Your sister and Valerie. They know what I want. Henry shook his head, whispering, No, that's yours. You have to run it yourself. I have my own job. I don't want to worry about yours. Victor's hand trembled as he reached up to touch Henry's face, smiling. You're a lot like how I used to be. Heh. Victor turned back to Ethan. Ethan, give me a smoke. Ethan immediately pulled a pack from his pocket, put a cigarette in Victor's mouth, and lit it. But before he could take a drag, Victor's hands went limp and dropped to the floor. His chest stopped moving. The lounge fell into a dead silence. Ethan could only hear his own rapid breathing and heartbeat. His mind went blank. Beak. Beak. Henry stared, frozen. Hey, brother. Beak. Don't sleep. Get up. Get up, damn it. Get up. Henry grabbed Victor's shoulders, shaking him violently, tears streaming down his face. Ethan grabbed Henry, pulling him into a tight embrace. Henry, stop. It's over. Henry let out a painful wail, collapsing to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Since he started dating Valerie, Victor had treated him like family, like a real big brother. He couldn't accept this. It felt like a knife twisting in his heart. Bang, bang, bang. Suddenly, crazy pounding erupted at the door. Thunder Bay is here. Ethan didn't have time to grieve. He hauled Henry up from the floor. Henry grabbed a heavy chair and moved to push the barricade aside, looking ready to charge out and fight to the death. Ethan grabbed him by the collar. Fuck, Henry, are you crazy? Do you remember Vic's words? If you die, who are you letting down? Are you going to let Valerie down? Hearing Valerie, the madness in Henry's eyes slowly receded, replaced by a cold focus. Bang, bang, two loud crashes. The lock was busted. Fuck, Baz, they're inside. Kill Victor Vane and Ethan Ford. The Thunder Bay thugs screamed outside, shoving against the door. Ethan and Henry used every ounce of their strength to hold the tea table and cabinet in place, blocking the entrance. It was a battle of endurance. Minutes ticked by like hours. They held on for over 10 minutes. The door was splintering under the kicks. It wouldn't hold much longer. Suddenly, a roar erupted from the hallway, followed by the chaotic sounds of a massive brawl. Ethan recognized the voice. Camel, the cavalry had arrived. Thunder Bay scum. Fuck you. Outside, Camel was screaming curses, leading his men into a violent collision with the enemy. A battle royale broke out in the 7th floor corridor. Barry Baz. Mitchell stood by the emergency exit. Seeing Camel's crew arrive in force, he knew the hit was blown. Fuck. Retreat. Baz knew staying was suicide. Once Victor's main force arrived, there would be no escape. At his command, the Thunder Bay crew fought a retreat, fleeing down the stairwell. Camel sent a group to chase them down and kept another group to secure the floor. The lounge door opened. Camel rushed over, but when he reached the threshold, he froze. Henry Payne walked out slowly, carrying Victor's body in his arms. Thud. Camel dropped to his knees, devastated. Boss. 5 days later. Morning. Hillside Cemetery, Chicago. The sky was overcast with dark clouds. Ethan Ford, dressed in a black suit, sat on the stone steps of a mausoleum, holding a bottle of Macallan whiskey, drinking alone. Ethan, Vanessa is here, Henry whispered, walking up to him. Ethan turned. Vanessa Vane approached, wearing a black dress and sunglasses, holding a bouquet of white roses. Beside her was Valerie, and behind them stood Camel, Big Ed, and a dozen of Victor's most loyal soldiers. Vanessa walked up to Ethan, her voice hoarse. Ethan, thank you for handling everything these past 3 days. Ethan stood up and shook his head. Vanessa, it was the least I could do. Vanessa took off her sunglasses. Her eyes were swollen. She had been crying for days. I'm planning to take Timmy and Dad on a trip for a while. Victor's affairs. I've handed them over to Lawyer Chon. He'll execute the will, Vanessa said calmly. Ethan nodded. Go. Don't worry about things here. Henry, Valerie, and I will watch over everything. Thank you. Vanessa bowed deeply to Ethan. Thank you, Ethan. Valerie sobbed, her eyes red, also bowing. Henry walked over, pulling Valerie into his arms, stroking her hair to comfort her. Vanessa put her sunglasses back on. Before I go, I want to see Victor one last time. She walked to the grave, placed the flowers, and stood there silently. A breeze rustled the leaves, whispering a sorrowful goodbye. Everyone stood in silence. After a long time, 2 tears slid from under Vanessa's sunglasses, landing on the cold stone. She wiped her face. Victor, don't worry. I'll take care of the family. Timmy will grow up healthy, just like any other kid. He's been asking for Daddy for 2 days. I told him you went on a business trip, far away. He said, he hopes you bring him a toy when you come back. A blue airplane that flies. I'll buy him one in a few days. A big blue one. Dad's heart isn't good, so we haven't told him yet. When he's stronger, he'll know. Your business, your clubs. I've arranged it all according to your will. You fought your whole life for this. It's enough for us to live on for generations. That's it for now. Next time I'm back, I'll come see you. Vanessa's voice trembled, fighting to keep her composure. She took a deep breath and turned to Ethan. Ethan, I'm leaving the rest to you. Ethan took a swig of the whiskey. The burn in his throat was nothing compared to the pain in his heart. Don't worry, Vanessa. I know what needs to be done. Vanessa nodded and turned to leave, Valerie supporting her. Big Ed led some men to escort the women home. Only Ethan, Henry, Camel, and the core crew remained. Ethan put down the bottle and took out a pack of cigarettes. He handed one to Camel first. Camel took it with both hands, bowing slightly. Thank you, Ethan. He understood. From today on, their boss was Henry Payne, but their reverence for Ethan Ford was even higher. Ethan passed cigarettes to Henry and the others. Finally, he walked to Victor's grave, lit a cigarette, and placed it on the stone marker. Smoke curled into the air. Ethan sat by the grave, lit one for himself, and smoked slowly. Beak. Finish this one. I'll handle the rest. Whoosh. The wind picked up, howling through the empty cemetery. It felt like Victor was answering. The men stood with solemn faces, paying their respects. When Ethan finished his cigarette, he stood up and walked toward the exit. Henry, Camel, and the others followed close behind. On the steps down the hill, Camel asked, Ethan, give the order. What do we do? Yeah, give the order, the man behind him shouted. Henry clenched his fists. Ethan, this debt must be paid in blood. Ethan's expression was cold granite. Camel, take men to Thunder Bay. Find Ray Young's hideouts, his family, everyone. Henry, scatter every brother we have. Scour Chicago. Every motel, hotel, club, arcade. Any business connected to Thunder Bay. Find them. West Ford Group is putting up $10 million. For the boys' expenses. Camel's eyes lit up with fierce gratitude. He nodded heavily. Yes, boss. Got it, Ethan. Henry responded. They reached the bottom of the hill. There, standing in perfect formation, were over 300 men in black suits. A sea of black, eyes burning with vengeance. Sorry for your loss, Ethan. The shout shook the clouds. Duke Drake stepped forward and draped a black trench coat over Ethan's shoulders. Ethan walked straight to his silver Mercedes. He waved his hand dismissively, his voice ice cold. Save the words. Go make Thunder Bay sorry. 2 days later. Dawn. Southside Terminal Market, Chicago. Vendors were busy unloading crates and setting up stalls. Suddenly, the roar of engines shattered the morning quiet. 8 motorcycles tore into the market area. The riders wore helmets and black armbands on their sleeves. Their faces were obscured. The sudden appearance of the biker gang drew the attention of the vendors. Hey, Pops, where's Ghost from Thunder Bay? A rider in a red helmet asked an older vendor. Ghost? Back there. Third stall from the end. The man pointed toward the rear of the market. Thanks. The rider nodded. He waved his hand, and the other riders dismounted, following him quickly toward the back. Wow, that's the kid, right? Paul Packy. Bennett pointed at a young man squatting on the ground, smoking while washing vegetables. Lyle snorted. Packy, just grab him. If they're Thunder Bay, if they operate in Chicago, we don't miss a single one. If we don't catch these rats, we can't face the boss. All of Victor's clubs were closed. Every man was out on the street with one purpose. Dig out the Thunder Bay rats and avenge Victor. On it, boss, Packy replied. The group quickened their pace. Ghost heard the footsteps and looked up. Seeing the group, he dropped the vegetables and bolted. Get him, Lyle shouted. The chase caused chaos in the market. Ghost didn't get far before Packy tackled him. Fuck you running. Packy grabbed him by the collar. Kid, is your boss Barry Mitchell? Ghost was terrified. He nodded frantically. He was just a low-level runner for Bass. Packy slapped him hard across the face, swelling his cheek instantly. Boss, right guy. Packy shouted. Lyle sneered. Take him. 2 goons dragged Ghost away, throwing him onto a bike in plain view of everyone. Lyle's crew rode out of the market, heading toward a rough neighborhood on the outskirts. The streets were empty, but every few minutes, groups of 4 or 5, sometimes 10 motorcycles would roar past. Every rider wore a black armband. Mourning for Victor Vane. Packy watched the scene in shock. Damn, Lyle, are all the brothers out? He had never seen anything like this in Chicago. Lyle grunted. You think Ethan is joking? Right now, there are more men working for Ethan than there are cops in the city. Ethan wants every single Thunder Bay connection in Chicago exposed. Every spot. No exceptions. Let's go. Find a place to open this kid's mouth. The convoy sped off toward the city. Similar scenes were playing out all over Chicago. Metro Police Precinct. Detective Zimmer was carrying files to a meeting room. Officer Lewis ran up behind him. Chief, big trouble. What is it? Zimmer stopped. Lewis whispered in his ear. Zimmer's face darkened. This is madness. Absolute madness. Victor Vane dies, and they go to war. Lewis, cancel the meeting. Let's go take a look. We can't let them tear the city apart. Zimmer turned to organize his squad. Just then, his phone rang. Director Vance? What are your orders? Zimmer stood at attention. Zimmer, where are you taking your men? Stand down. A notice just came from City Hall. Mandatory training seminar for all senior officers and detectives. You're on the list. Get your team together and head to the academy. Simo was stunned. Now? Today? Yes. Any problems? It starts now. The tone was non-negotiable. Zimmer hung up, his expression ugly. Chief, we're ready to roll. Lewis shouted excitedly. Zimmer's voice was heavy. We're not going. Huh? WY? Lewis was confused. Zimmer adjusted his hat, face grim. We're going to a training seminar. He clenched his fist and turned back to his office. Noon. Marshville District, West Chicago outskirts. This was a rough area far from downtown, surrounded by industrial parks and cheap rentals for migrant workers. At the end of the main drag stood a 6-story red brick building. Barry Baz, Mitchell stood by a window on the top floor, smoking and watching the street. Damn it, Baz, when can we go back? A blonde thug asked irritably. Fuck, what's the rush? Victor is dead. Next is Ethan Ford. Baz snapped. The others went silent. The door opened, and Ray Young wheeled himself in. Boss. Baz tossed his cigarette and walked over. Ray Young was smiling. Baz, you did good. Huh. Hearing of Victor's death had been the best news of his life. He felt like he could breathe again. Baz grinned. I learned from the best, boss. That kid Mark Wells was useful. Ray nodded. Use your brain, not just your muscle. Ethan is hunting us right now. Lay low. Once the heat dies down, we take Chicago back. Right, boss. This place is safe. Even if Ethan flips the city upside down, he won't look here. Ray Young had prepared this safe house for exactly this scenario. A cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. Ray thought for a moment. Tell the boys in the city to go underground. Don't stick their heads out. With Victor dead, Ethan won't let this go easily. We can't be careless. Baz laughed. Don't worry, boss. I told everyone here to stay put. We have food. We have beds. We wait it out. How long can Ethan keep an army on the payroll? A few days, and they'll run out of steam. Ray nodded approvingly. Baz was finally learning patience. To be a wolf, you had to know when to hide. Ray waved his hand, and his assistant pushed him out to rest. Suddenly, Ray's phone rang. It was his Uncle Rube from back home in Thunder Bay. Uncle Rube? What's up? The voice on the other end was trembling, hushed. Don't come back. Do you hear me? Don't come back to Thunder Bay. Uncle Rube, what's wrong? Ray Young frowned, but the line went dead. Ray's heart skipped a beat. Something was wrong back home. His face darkened. After a moment of thought, he said, Lee, go back to Thunder Bay immediately. See what's happening. Yes, boss. I'll leave now, his assistant replied. Ray picked up his phone to call back, but hesitated. He didn't dial. A second later, the phone rang. It was Uncle Rube's number again. He answered immediately. Uncle. A different voice came through the speaker. A deep, sinister voice. Ray, you old dog. I finally found you. Ray's heart hammered against his ribs. His face turned black. Who is this? Ray, you're getting senile. Don't recognize me? Camel. Ray gritted his teeth. Ray, where are you hiding? Why don't you come out? Don't worry. Even if you don't, I'll find you. Camel's voice dripped with icy, murderous intent. I'm going to settle the boss's debt personally. Ray hung up, his expression shifting wildly. He never expected Camel would dare to go to Thunder Bay, and he never expected his people there to be so useless. Why? Meanwhile, Thunder Bay, the ancestral hall of Katy Village. Camel sat on a chair, flanked by dozens of men. In front of him stood a group of white-haired old men, trembling in fear. Uncle Rube wiped sweat from his forehead, his heart in his throat. He had woken up to find the village swarming with over 200 men in black suits. Before he could react, they herded the elders here. Uncle Rube, you must know something, right? Camel tossed the phone onto the floor. I don't know anything. Rube cried. Cut the crap. I need a lead on Ray Young. Or else. Camel's vicious gaze swept over the other elders. The other old men glared at Rube. One shouted, Rube, Ray is a wanted man. Why are you protecting him? Are you stupid? Yeah, don't drag us down with you. That's Ray's business, not ours. Camel stood up, walked over to Rube, and grabbed him by the collar. Rube went limp instantly. Don't hit me. I'll talk. Meanwhile, New Sands Pier, Chicago. Fishing boats were returning. A dark-skinned, middle-aged man stood on the dock smoking, watching the lake. His phone rang. Captain Ray, I got a fish that wants to swim. Captain Ray raised an eyebrow, blowing a smoke ring. What kind of fish? Mark Wells. He's hot in the city. Wants to go to the Caymans. Captain Ray narrowed his eyes and smiled. Mark Wells. That's a very tasty fish. Tell him to come see me now. We'll get him on a boat. The caller sounded relieved. Great, thanks, Captain. I'll bring him over. After hanging up, Captain Ray immediately dialed another number. Hey, Duke. It's Ray. Yeah, I got a fish trying to run. I think you'll be interested. A van sped toward the pier. In the passenger seat, Mark Wells wore a baseball cap pulled low, eyes darting nervously. He just wanted to get out of Chicago. He couldn't take the bus or train. Ethan's people were everywhere. He had followed Victor for years. He knew the reach of the organization. Taking the roads was suicide, and he couldn't stay in the country. But he wasn't worried. He had over $1 million in cash on him. He could live like a king anywhere. He took Thunder Bay's money, betrayed Victor, and got him killed. Sure, he was scared, but fear vanished in the face of $1 million. Al, can this boat really get me to the Caymans? Mark asked. Al, the driver, laughed. Relax, Mark. Absolutely. Captain Ray is a pro. He can get you to the Caribbean, even Brazil if you want. Mark relaxed slightly. As long as he got out, the van stopped at the pier. Mark got out, hands in his pockets, looking around. Haha, Captain Ray. Al walked up, offering a cigarette. Captain Ray took it, glancing at Mark. This the fish? Yeah. Please take care of him. Al handed over an envelope. Captain Ray checked it. 20 grand. 10 more than usual. Hey, you know the rules. Ray patted his shoulder. Just hope Captain can look after my brother. Al pleaded with a grin. Ray laughed. No problem. Get him on board. Al nodded happily and waved to Mark. Mark walked over quickly. This is Captain Ray. Captain. Mark greeted him nervously. He was in their hands now. He had to be humble. Ray grinned, showing white teeth. All right, get ready to board. But hand over your phone. Signals can be tracked by the Coast Guard. Mark hesitated, looking at Al. Al-Nadif. Standard procedure. Mark reluctantly handed his phone to Captain Ray. Ray turned it off and gestured. Please, Mr. Wells. Mark looked at the fishing trawler docked at the end of the long pier. He nodded, shouldered his bag, and started walking. It was a long concrete path with water on both sides. The boat sat at the end like a beast with its mouth open. Halfway there, Mark felt a chill. He stopped and looked back. Captain Ray was standing there alone. Al was gone. Huh. A sense of dread washed over him. He spun around to look at the boat. His face went pale. Walking down the gangplank was a squad of men in black tactical gear, helmets, and gloves. They held weapons that gleamed coldly in the setting sun. Mark was terrified. Trap. He stumbled backward, turning to run back to the dock. But when he turned, he saw another wall of black uniforms blocking the exit. Dozens of them. His face turned ashen. He had fallen into the abyss. No escape. From the group behind him, a man with a buzz cut stepped forward. Mark recognized him. It was Wes Sterling, Ethan's head of security. Wes cracked his knuckles, staring at him indifferently. Where are you going, traitor? Mark's legs gave out, and he collapsed onto the concrete in despair. 10:00 p.m. Marshville. In the safe house, Ray Young and Baz Mitchell were eating a late dinner. Ray had no appetite. He stared at the phone on the table, waiting for news. Boss, not hungry? Baz asked. Can't eat. Mine's racing. You eat, Ray muttered. Baz knew he was worried. Boss, relax. Even if Camel went to Thunder Bay, what can he do? Those old geezers don't know where we are. Ray looked at him. Baz, are you sure you collected everyone's phones? He was terrified someone would slip up and call home, leaking their location. Baz gave an awkward laugh. Should be fine. I told him. No calls out. Should be. Ray felt uneasy. Baz gave a vague answer. What about Mark Wells? Where is he? Ray asked. Baz checked the time. Yeah, that weasel is probably halfway to the Caribbean by now. Don't worry, boss. He took the money. He betrayed Victor. He wanted to run. He doesn't know where we are anyway. Ray stood up, pacing the room in his wheelchair, agitated. Tell the boys to stay sharp. If there's any movement from the city, we move to the backup spot immediately, Ray said gravely. Baz shrugged and smiled. All right, boss. Whatever you say. Late night, in Marshville, the street markets were thinning out. 2 construction trucks drove into the main street, blocking off the road with barriers at the far end. Couples finishing their late-night snacks tried to leave, but were stopped by the blockade. What the hell? Construction again? At this hour? Give me a break. Honey, let's just go the other way. The crowd grumbled and dispersed. A Santana sedan tried to pass. The driver was a young man in a loud floral shirt. He saw the barriers going up and thought he could squeeze through before they closed it. He got out of the car, walking up to the crew arrogantly. Hey, hey, don't block it yet. Let me through first. What kind of construction happens at night? Two young men in red hard hats stepped in his way. Roads closed. Work starting. Go around. Hey, watch your attitude. Call your supervisor. I want to talk to the boss. Floral shirt guy yelled. The alcohol gave him liquid courage. The two hard hats didn't budge. Suddenly, a deep voice boomed from behind. What's the problem? Floral shirt guy turned to see a mountain of a man walking toward him. The guy was huge, built like a bull, with a massive head and a face that screamed violence. The man looked down at him. Floral shirt guy's knees went weak. His courage evaporated instantly. BB big brother. I was just asking. Just asking. No problem, he stammered, waving his hands. Then get lost, the big man growled. One glare was enough. The guy scrambled back to his car, U-turned, and sped off. Holy shit. Who are those guys? He thought, terrified. A young man ran up to the big guy. Big Ed, road is sealed. Big Ed nodded, his eyes cold. Boys, get ready. Time to catch some rats. Don't let a single one slip. At the other end of the street, the road was also blocked. The two trucks had sealed off a 200-meter stretch of Marshville. Inside the safe house, Baz Mitchell finished eating and went to the window to smoke. He opened the window and noticed the street lights were out. Huh, why is it dark? He lit his cigarette, craning his neck. It was pitch black outside. Only the lights from the building were on. Black dog, Baz shouted. A skinny guy ran in. Yeah, Baz. Baz pointed outside. Take two, guys. Check the lights. If they're blown, get someone to fix them tomorrow. Without lights, his lookouts were blind. On it, Black Dog replied and left. A moment later, Black Dog and two thugs walked out with flashlights. Suddenly, the roar of engines erupted from the darkness. Cars. Black Dog shone his light. A bus appeared, then another, and another. 3, 4, 5. Over a dozen buses pulled up on the right side of the road, followed by a convoy of vans and black sedans on the left. It was dizzying. Headlights flooded the street, blindingly bright. The lights cut, and from the vehicles poured a sea of men in black suits. Each wore white labor gloves and carried a machete, pipe, or bat. Looking out, there were at least 500 men. Black Dog froze, his scalp tingling with terror. Holy shit. Fuck. Bad. Run. Go back. His legs turned to jelly. He stumbled, turning to run back to the house. But when he looked back, the other end of the street was also filled with men. Countless heads, a black mass like storm clouds, pressing in. Run. Black Dog screamed, face pale as a ghost, sprinting for the door. The two waves of black-clad men converged on the house. Camel stood at the front. He spit out his cigarette, pulled on his gloves, and hefted a machete. Fuck. Finally found the rats. Beside him stood Wes Sterling. Wes silently adjusted his tactical gloves and put on a white helmet. All right, time to work. Camel's face was grim. Yeah, time to pay the debt. Smash it. The crowd parted. An SUV revved its engine and accelerated, slamming straight into the front gate of the house. Crash. The dozen Thunder Bay thugs inside were stunned. What followed scared the soul out of them. Outside, a black tide of men surged forward, engulfing everything. The ground floor of the safe house erupted into chaos. Steel clashed, men screamed, and bones snapped. Camel, machete in hand, strode forward, hacking through anyone foolish enough to stand in his way. Ray Young, Bass, get your asses out here. Camel's eyes were red with rage, locked on the stairs. Suddenly, a thug lunged from the left with a switchblade. Camel raised his left hand to block it raw, but a blur of motion intercepted the attacker. A kick sent the thug flying. Focus on the job, Wes Sterling said indifferently, flipping up his visor. Thanks, Camel grunted. The kicked thug, eyes bloodshot with adrenaline, scrambled up and charged Wes. Wes moved with terrifying agility. He dodged the blade, grabbed the thug by the throat with his left hand, and his right hand, holding a combat knife, moved faster than the eye could see. The surrounding thugs froze in horror. In 1 second, Wes had stabbed him countless times. It was too fast to count. The remaining Thunder Bay goons backed away, terror written on their faces. They were looking at the god of death. Wes dropped the limp body. He wiped his blade. He walked forward. The thugs scrambled backward. No one dared to engage. Their will to fight shattered. They were swallowed by the black tide. Upstairs, Camel led the charge to the second floor. Baz Mitchell, watching from the landing, felt his scalp go numb seeing the army below. Fuck. Block them. Hold them. Baz shoved his underlings forward. The stairs were narrow. Even with superior numbers, Camel was bottlenecked. The thugs piled furniture to block the path. Baz used the delay to sprint to the third floor. Boss, Ethan's army is here. There's too many. We gotta go. Baz shouted. He had an escape route. Ray Young's face was black. Out the window. Third floor. Smash, smash. Suddenly, the third floor windows shattered inward. Men in black tactical gear and helmets swung in on ropes. They used grappling hooks to scale the building. Ray Young was stunned. Holy shit. Rappelling? Who are these guys? Fuck. It's Ethan's security team. Run. Baz screamed. The shout snapped the thugs out of their trance. They grabbed Ray's wheelchair and ran for the back room. Some stayed to fight, but were dropped in seconds by the trained security operators. Baz and the remaining few barricaded themselves in the last room at the end of the hall. Meanwhile, the defenders on the stairs looked back to see security forces coming down from the third floor. Pincered, they collapsed instantly. Camel gave a thumbs up. Damn, you guys are pros. He scanned the room. No white helmet. Wes was gone. He must have gone for Ray. Fuck, get Ray Young. Camel roared, and 200 men surged upward. In the back room, Baz threw down a rope. 3 thugs climbed down to check the escape route through the fields. Quick, lower me down. Ray wheeled himself to the window. Baz hesitated for a split second. Bang! The door shuttered under a massive impact. Baz, what are you doing? Don't leave me. Ray grabbed Baz's leg. Fuck off. Baz kicked Ray away and slid down the rope himself. Crash! The door exploded inward. The black uniforms swarmed in. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. The remaining thugs dropped their weapons and knelt, begging. Ray Young, overturned in his wheelchair, looked at the ceiling with dead eyes. He never thought he would fall like this. And he never thought Baz, the man he raised up, would kick him away to save his own skin. The betrayal hurt more than the fall. It was over. Wes walked into the room, his white helmet speckled with blood. He stared coldly at Ray. Ray Young, Mister, Ford said you would pay a heavy price. Ray laughed miserably. I never thought. A lifetime in the game, ending in the hands of a kid. Ethan has guts. Camel rushed in. Seeing Ray, he charged, grabbed him off the floor, and slammed him down again. Fuck you, Ray. You old dog. Camel delivered a slap so hard it knocked Ray's teeth out. Blood sprayed. But it wasn't enough to quell the rage. Fuck. Just kill me if you have the balls. Ray spat blood. Camel smiled cruelly. Kill you? Oh, you're not getting off that easy. Ray felt a chill run down his spine. Commander Sterling, a few runners got away, a security officer reported. Wes sneered. They won't get far. Baz Mitchell hit the ground and was immediately spotted. He took 2 machete slashes to the back, but managed to run with his last 3 guys toward the main road. Pursuers were close behind. They reached the main street. Baz had a motorcycle stashed under a tarp by the roadside. His contingency plan. But ahead, blinding headlights flared. He shielded his eyes. Through the glare, he saw silhouettes and heard the scrape of metal on asphalt. Dead end, asshole. Big Ed grinned, blocking the road. We're done, Baz, a thug cried. Charge back, Baz yelled. The thugs turned to fight. But Baz didn't. He bolted sideways toward the residential buildings. Toward his bike. Fuck. He ripped off the tarp, jammed the key in, and kicked it over. Ecstasy surged through him. I made it. As long as I live, I can come back. He gunned the throttle, aiming straight at Big Ed's blockade. Stop him, Big Ed shouted. Baz accelerated to 60 miles an hour, smashing through a barrier, dodging a truck. Ha! I'm out. He felt the rush of survival. But the next second, a black Santana sedan shot out from a side street at the intersection, directly into his path. BM, a deafening crash. Baz and his bike were launched 30 feet through the air. He slammed into a brick wall, impaled on a jagged water pipe. The force spun his head around 180 degrees. He died instantly, staring at his own back. The Santana skidded to a halt, front end crushed. Inside, Floyd the floral shirt guy stared through the windshield, jaw dropped. I just killed someone. Floyd sat frozen in his car, mind completely blank. He had just finished a rendezvous with his mistress and was heading back to the city. He never expected to run into this in the middle of the night. Holy shit, this is bad luck on a cosmic scale. I'm screwed. I am absolutely screwed. I killed a guy. Will I go to jail? If I run now, is it a hit and run? That's worse. Mom, Dad, I don't want to go to prison. Floyd sat there, panicking, helpless. To run or not to run? Suddenly, the sound of heavy footsteps approached. He turned to look. From the blocked road, a sea of men in black uniforms poured out. Hundreds of them. Whoa, fuck. Floyd almost wet himself. What is happening? Several men ran up to the car. Leading them was the massive guy from earlier, Big Ed. Big Ed looked at Baz Mitchell's corpse pinned to the wall, then at Floyd. He grinned. Kid, you did a good deed. Huh? Floyd was stunned. Come out. Big Ed tapped on the window. Floyd's legs were shaking so bad he could barely unbuckle his seatbelt. He stumbled out. Don't be scared. Relax. I'm not going to eat you. Here, have a smoke. Big Ed smiled, pulling out a cigarette. Floyd took it with trembling hands. Big Ed patted his shoulder. My friend, thanks to you. Otherwise, I would have lost face tonight. BB Big Brother. I didn't mean to. I really didn't mean to. Floyd looked ready to cry. I know. Heh. Big Ed lit his own cigarette. Here, light up. Don't worry. We'll handle the cleanup. Big Ed lit Floyd's cigarette for him. Floyd didn't dare refuse. He took a drag, face pale. He looked toward the road. More and more men in black were gathering. 700 of them. Many had blood on their clothes. Oh my God, who are these people? From a crowd, a group walked forward. Camel was in the lead. Camel walked straight up to Big Ed and flicked him on the forehead. Fuck, Ed. You almost blew it. Big Ed rubbed his head, grinning sheepishly. Camel, I didn't know the rat was that slippery. Wes Sterling walked up, glanced at Baz's body, and said calmly, Mission accomplished. Camel took out a cigarette, handed one to Wes, and lit his own. He took a deep drag. Boss, debt paid. Boss, this one's for you. Camel pulled out a fresh cigarette, lit it, and placed it upright on the ground facing Baz's corpse. The gesture sent a ripple through the crowd. Hundreds of men straightened up, standing in silent formation. Mourning. Tears welled in Camel's eyes. Thud. He dropped his knees in front of the cigarette and bowed his head to the asphalt. See you in the next life, boss. Big Ed wiped a tear away and patted Camel's shoulder. Camel, let's go. Camel stood up, wiped his face, and waved his hand. Brothers, let's go home. Yes. The shout from hundreds of throats shook Floyd to his core. He stood there, watching the black tide recede into the night. The next day, 5:00 a.m., Chicago East outskirts, desolate riverbank. 3 black Audi sedans sped down the dirt road, kicking up dust, and stopped by the levee. Camel got out of the lead car and lit a cigarette. Bring them out, he signaled. Got it, Camel. A young man in a suit opened the back door and dragged Mark Wells out. Big Ed dragged Ray Young from another car. Ray was paralyzed, slumped on the ground, unable to sit up. His face was swollen, his clothes soaked in blood and filth. Camel, I don't want to die. Please, please. Mark Wells, hands bound, knelt and screamed. Camel looked at him with disgust. You have the face to beg me. He kicked Mark in the face. Fuck. Vic treated you like a brother. Is this how you repay him? Traitor. Sold us out for money, huh? Camel rained kicks on him, venting his fury. Mark curled into a ball, wailing. When Camel was done, he pressed his lit cigarette onto Mark's forehead. Mark screamed. Camel walked over to Ray Young and hauled him up by his collar. Ray's face was gray, his eyes filled with despair. He knew his fate. If you're going to do it, Ray mumbled, broken. Ray, you old dog. Your life isn't mine to take. Wait for Ethan. Then you'll know how you die. Camel whispered, smiling cruelly. Ethan Ford. Ray froze. The image of the young man filled his mind. Rage and indignation surged in his heart. He had fought Victor for years, only to be destroyed by a kid. Unacceptable. Suddenly, an engine roared. 2 black Mercedes pulled up. Duke Drake opened the rear door. A young man in a suit stepped out. Duke draped a black trench coat over his shoulders. Ray looked over, his pupils shrinking. Ethan Ford. Ray Young stared daggers at Ethan Ford. The empire he had built over a lifetime, destroyed by this young man. Ethan Ford, you're ruthless. Ethan walked up to Ray and waved a hand. Camel let go, and Ray slumped onto the hood of the car. Ethan's face was calm. He lit a cigarette. Ray, it's time to end this. Ray gritted his teeth. It ends. You won, kid. A cold light flashed in Ethan's eyes. Smack. He slapped Ray across the face. Won? No, I didn't win. Vic didn't win. You didn't win. Ethan never wanted to be part of this life. But once you're in, you're in. He wished none of this had happened. He wished Victor was still alive. This wasn't a victory. It was just closing a ledger. All 3 sides lost. He lost a best friend. Timmy lost a father. Vanessa lost a husband. Victor lost his life. And now Ray lost everything. Ray, humiliated by the slap, felt a burst of rage, wanting to tear Ethan's throat out with his teeth. But his broken body wouldn't obey. Powerless fury consumed him. Ethan flicked the ash. Don't look at me like that. Want revenge? Try again in the next life. Camel, he's yours. Handle him however you want. Camel grinned, a terrifying sight. Thanks, Ethan. Ray's face changed. Absolute despair. Falling into Camel's hands. Death would be a mercy. Ethan walked over to Mark Wells and kicked the kneeling traitor over. Mark, you pay for your greed. Those who betray trust never have a good end. Mark scrambled up, kneeling before Ethan. Ethan, boss, I was wrong. I was wrong. Give me another chance. I don't want to die. Ethan. Ethan snorted and kicked him in the face again. You don't want to die? Did Vic want to die? Fuck. You have the nerve to beg me. Get him out of my sight. Ethan kicked him down again. Before Mark could crawl back, Big Ed rushed in and punted him like a football, sending him flying 10 feet. Fuck. Mark, you piece of shit. Big Ed roared. Ethan patted Ed's shoulder. Ed, he's yours. Ethan walked back to the Mercedes, sat in the back seat, and smoked, watching the first light of dawn break over the horizon. The sun was rising. A new day. Ethan blew smoke out the window, reaching out as if to grasp the new sunlight. Outside, screams and the sickening crunch of bones filled the air. Ethan tossed the butt, clenched his fist, and held onto the sunlight. 10 minutes later, 2 heavy splashes echoed from the river. Duke walked over and whispered, Ethan, it's done. Ethan nodded. Let's go. Back to the office. Yes. Duke started the car. The Mercedes convoy drove away. Camel and Big Ed bowed to the departing cars. Thank you, Ethan. Ethan returned to the West Ford Group offices. Inside, he found Wayne, Tank, Turner, and Henry Payne drinking. Henry was flush-faced, 2 empty bottles of Macallan on the table. Ethan. Ethan's back. Tank shook Henry's shoulder. Henry stood up unsteadily. Ethan. Ethan smiled wearily. It's done. You guys started without me. Henry's eyes turned red. He poured a glass. Ethan. Thank you. Henry handed the glass to him, gratitude pouring off him. Ethan took the glass. All right, Henry. Let's drink. It's all in the glass. Tank raised his glass. Yeah, to the glass. The 3 clinked glasses and drained them. Ethan poured another, then poured it onto the floor. For Vic. Hope he can rest now. Henry couldn't hold back the tears anymore. The 3 brothers drank until they passed out on the office sofas, sleeping for a full day and night. When Ethan woke up, his head was splitting his mouth like sandpaper. Water, water, he mumbled, trying to get up. A glass of warm water appeared in front of him. Thanks. Ethan downed in one go. His brain started to reboot. Wait, who gave him the water? He looked up to see a beautiful, familiar face. Grace Miller. Grace had her hands on her hips, tone sarcastic. Oh, finally awake, Mr. Ford. If you slept any longer, I was going to call an ambulance. Ethan laughed awkwardly. Grace? You're here? Actually, I didn't drink that much. I swear. Grace glared at him. Swear? I wouldn't believe you if you swore on your life. Didn't drink much? Look at the time. She pointed out the floor-to-ceiling window. It was dark. Ethan slapped his forehead. It's night already. He looked at the clock. 7? Not bad. I didn't sleep that long. Grace pinched his ear. 7? Check the date. You're missing a whole day, genius. If I hadn't asked Duke, I wouldn't have known you were out this long. Ethan pulled out his phone. Holy crap. A full 24 hours. He quickly changed the subject. Hey, Grace, let go. Where are Tank and Henry? Grace let go, rolling her eyes. They went home ages ago. Ethan scratched his head. Oh. Grace sighed, half annoyed, half concerned. She sat down beside him and began massaging his temples. How is it? Head still hurting? Ethan nodded, laying his head on her lap. Yeah, but your hands are magic. Hurts less already. Grace smiled. Don't get used to it. Just trying to take advantage, aren't you? Ethan looked up, his view obstructed by certain curves. A goofy grin spread across his face. Me? Never. I'm a gentleman. Haha. Ethan, why is your laugh so creepy? No. Just happy. Grace pouted. Hungry? What do you want to eat? Ethan answered instinctively. Melons. Grace. Melons. Pervert. Grace blushed and pinched the soft flesh at his waist. Oof. Ethan was getting bolder. Ouch. What was that for? Ethan laughed, pretending to be in pain. Grace glared at him. Who told you to be so smooth? Ethan sat up, grinning. If we're talking smooth. He leaned in and kissed her. MH. Caught off guard, Grace froze, eyes wide. After a thorough plundering, Ethan finally released her, satisfied. Grace's face was crimson. She shot him a playful look. Ethan, you're bad. Girls love bad boys. Ethan chuckled. All right, Gracie. Let's go. I'll take you to get some real food. Grace scoffed. Taking me? You're just hungry yourself. Same difference. Let's go. Ethan pulled her up. 1 month later, University of Illinois at Chicago, UIC campus. The afternoon sun was gentle. Ethan sat on a bench under a tree, reading a textbook. Tired, he put the book over his face, leaned back, and listened to the birds. Life had been peaceful lately. Classes, food, basketball, sleep. He had taken a break from the chaos, leaving the business to Tank and Henry. Suddenly, footsteps approached. Yo, Ethan, living the life? Jason York ran over and flopped down on the bench. Ethan moved the book. Jason, weren't you on a date? Why are you still on campus? Don't ask. Dumped, Jason said nonchalantly. Again? How many is that? You really are flighty, Ethan teased. She wanted designer bags. I don't have that kind of allowance. Jason shrugged helplessly. Aren't you rich, mister? York. Jason's face fell. Ethan, don't mock me. My dad cut off my cards. I'm planning to be self-reliant. Jason made a determined fist. Ethan looked at him sideways. Self-reliant? Doing what? You gonna become a gigolo? Jason actually thought about it. Seriously. Sigh. I don't know how to do anything else. Maybe being a sugar baby is my only option. Ethan. First time he'd heard someone resign themselves to being a boy toy so calmly. Ethan laughed. You idiot. Your family does construction, right? Find some projects for your dad. Jason stroked his chin. But I don't know how to find projects. Hey, Ethan, you got any? Ethan paused. Me? I actually do have a project. Haven't found a contractor yet. Depends on your family's qualifications. Jason didn't know what qualifications meant, but he clapped his hands. Great. I'll tell my dad. If it works, he'll unlock my cards. Ethan smirked. Jason, maybe you should just stick to being a rich kid. If you try to do business, you might bankrupt your family in 2 years. Jason laughed awkwardly. Am I that bad? I think I'm pretty smart. Just then, Ethan's phone rang. It was Zach Bell. Hey, Zach. What's up? Huh. Ethan, me, Zane, and Danny are coming to Chicago tomorrow on business. Wanted to swing by and see you. Zach's cheerful voice came through the line. Ethan smiled. Opportunity knocks. That's great. Welcome. I told you if you come to Chicago, call me. Ethan said warmly. Of course. Just checking in, huh? Don't be a stranger. I'll be mad. Ethan joked. Okay. We land around 5 p.m. tomorrow. Done. I'll send a car. Prepare to have a good time in Chicago. They hung up. Ethan gripped the phone, his mind already racing. Zach Bell, Zane King, Danny, the founders of Arctic Systems, 10-cent equivalent. This was the chance to lay the trap for the biggest tech giant of the future. He needed those three.